Enter a world where monsters have taken their place among cinematic history, but who are the real monsters? Are they the scaly creatures that haunt our nightmares? Or are they the person you see every day just casually walking down the street? What happens when man outweighs the monster on the screen and creep into our lives and dreams? With our co-hosts Joe Randazzo, Vicky Ray, and Keith Shago, they will uncover who are the real villains as we explore the classic cinema along with some modern greats and find the monster within us. Hello, welcome to the Your License Podcast. This is Remake Week, where we'll be covering two movies, the original and the remake, starting with The Mummy from 1932 and The Mummy from 1999. And before we get started, let's find out who's with us. We got Derek Miller with us. Hello, Chad.
What's going on?
Got Joe Randazzo with us. Hello, Joe.
Hey, everyone.
John Wilson. Hello, John.
Hello, folks.
Vicky Ray. Hello, Vix.
Hey, guys.
And I'm your host, Keith Shago. Before we get started, let's find out what we've been up to. Starting with you, Chad. What have you been up to since last time we spoke to you?
Well, I just put the finishing touches on my first short film script. We began filming in December.
I saw that.
And,
congratulations.
Thank you. It's gonna, man, I'm really excited about it. It's gonna be pretty cool. Also,
cool.
I just released a short story compilation. A couple of those short stories are back from the old media bitch days. So I
resurrected. There was a lot of good stories in there, though.
Yes.
A lot of good stuff.
Resurrected some of that stuff and just kind of, took my my media bitch short stories and some of my death's head short stories and a couple of new ones and just combined them all into one little collection as
Good
kind of
idea.
a little one-stop shop. So and I'm selling it on Amazon. Paperback copies are $6.66, but don't you worry, kids.
$6.66. What a good number.
The real devil's gonna add tax to it, so you guys don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, no shit.
Then it'll be 13.
It was a nice round number.
And what about yourself, Joe? What have you been up to?
Well, last weekend I was at the the Twisted Dreams Film Festival in Milwaukee. It was I think as far as I know, my first event since post-COVID. I was one of the judges for the film festival, and we also had Lloyd Kaufman and Brink Stevens there. First time I've seen Lloyd since February of 2020, so that was super cool. Found out his hotel room was right down the hall from mine.
Awesome.
So that was cool. When I walked into his hotel one night, and I was like, "Oh, you're right down the hall from me." But it was a great time. First time seeing a lot of old friends that I haven't seen that have done like the trauma events and stuff like that. Interesting little tidbit. There was a burlesque show prior to the screening of Shakespeare Shitstorm, and apparently whoever set up the stage wasn't set up right. So the girls came and asked me, "Would you mind coming back behind the stage and holding the stage so that the girls could dance?" So you want me to get down and sit down behind the stage and look up at the girls who are stripping.
Such a hardship, I know.
Man, I gotta tell you, what a life.
You're literally becoming a pillar of the community there.
What are your therapy bills like right
good
now?
one.
I was literally a pillar of the burlesque community in that case. But yeah, had a good time. Great. Finally met Brink Stevens. I've written 2 films that she was in, but I've never met her in person. As soon as I walked over to her and mentioned my name, she knew immediately who I was, which is just insane. So yeah, it's super cool. Really had a great time. If you guys have somewhere you want to submit to next year, Twisted Dreams Film Festival is a great weekend in Milwaukee and a lot of fun.
Very cool.
Excellent.
Awesome, Joe.
And what about yourself, John? What have you been up to?
I earlier this month I went to Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, which is
I saw
always so much
that.
fun.
You're having
It's
too much fun again.
it's amazing. I only went one day this year. I wanted to definitely go more days, but kind of glad I didn't. It was Saturday's the big day. It's just there's a lot of people there, so like I usually go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it was a lot of energy, a lot of really cool costumes and fun times, but it was packed. It was so packed in there. And yeah, that was nice. And gearing up for the Halloween season, I'm watching movies every day, watching something new every day. I feel like it's literally my favorite time of the season. So
It is. It really is.
I finally got around to seeing Last Night at Soho, which was so good.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
I was shocked at how good it was. It was so good. Oh,
It really was. It really was.
I've been telling people to go see that movie like for over a year. It's my favorite
It's an
movie last year.
excellent film.
I watched it with some friends and we were like, I think all of us were just like, wow, that was really good. Like it's like one of those like I was happy that I watched it with my friends. I just didn't watch it by myself. And what else? Oh, and I'm designing a tattoo, so I'm getting to on Sunday. So I'm really happy about that. It's been something in the work for months now that I finally is coming to
Something
fruition.
special that you made for yourself.
I did. It's actually it's something with my parents and my brother. It's just something that it's everything is whenever I decide to do a tattoo, it always comes from the heart. I don't just pick something from a book and be like, I want a turtle. Like I'm not that person.
I want a turtle. I want a Pokemon. Yeah.
So it's been a lot of work in progress. Chris Lopez is the tattoo artist in Seven Souls in New Jersey. So I can't wait to get started on that. So
what about yourself, Vix? What are you been up to?
Not a lot. Asher's been getting into the kind of graduated from BMX. I'm heartbroken, but it's into motocross. So we're kind of graduating to that kind of stuff, which is kind of fun. New people, totally different venues and stuff, but he's getting there. But on top of that, not doing a whole lot. There's some things going on around here I've been getting involved in, but just hanging out, doing the Halloween thing. We did finally watched Black Phone. Joe did you wrote a good review on that too? Or was that Matthew wrote the review?
That was probably Matthew. I didn't write anything about Black Phone.
Matthew wrote an excellent review. I like yours too. Got to figure out something to do with those reviews y'all write, because those are fantastic reviews. I really enjoy reading them.
The thing is, those are really just like what I'm thinking about a movie.
I know, but I like them.
Those aren't anything like I've written some stuff that's like really in depth, but if I tried to do that for every movie I'm watching for this watch challenge, it'd take me 10 years.
Oh, I know. You've never been. I just enjoy when you guys do it. But what was I watching? Oh yeah, I finally watched Resident Evil Final Chapter. I was not disappointed. I thought I was going to hate it. I really enjoyed it a lot. And it did kind of look like there was room at the end where there might possibly something happen again, but I doubt it. I think they're really going to probably can it after this one, but I really enjoyed all those films. And Keith got me into these two movies, and I thought I was reading what were they about. I'm gonna hate them, but no, it was Sissy and Deadstream. Totally loved them. What were they on Netflix, Keith? They're on Netflix.
They're on Shudder. No, Shudder.
Shudder, yeah, but Shudder. But they're really, really good. Deadstream, totally freaking loved that, especially. It was freaking good.
You guys had suggested My Best Friend's Exorcism, and I went and watched that
one too.
I want to watch that. I also want to watch. There's a new one too at the nicest boy in the world. There's something like that, and it's about a boy who creates his own family that they're all dead, so he brings them back. It's very kind of like old Tim Burton. Like it looks cute. It's I think Australian maybe.
They put out some good stuff. What was that? Yeah. Wormwood. I love Wormwood. I didn't like the
Wormwood
second
was
one
great.
So much.
Yeah.
They made a second one. I couldn't get through it. I actually have not finished watching it, but the first one was really, really good. And we did Black Phone, yeah. And then I found this, what was it? Dracula, the Untold Story thing. It was like a 2014, I want to say. I really enjoyed that. I liked it. I didn't think I was going to like it, but it was something different. It was kind of like one of those Sunday afternoons, And it's this looks good.
It's called The Loneliest Boy in the World. So it's coming out.
The Loneliest Boy in the World. I'm right there.
Mm-hmm.
But just season 2, Barbarians finished up the Rings. And I think I got one more episode this week of House of the Dragon. And I'm finally liking it. Finally. And I think we might have to wait 2 years for the second season. And I don't know if I can do that. I'll probably have to buy the books now because I don't want to wait 2 years.
I'm trying. I am trying so hard
to like it.
It's
to
hard. It's
House of
hard.
the Dragon. It's okay. I'm the opposite. I didn't watch Game of Thrones as it came out. I binged it.
That's what I did.
Same.
That's what
after
I
the
did.
fact. And I actually enjoyed the final season more than I liked any of the previous seasons. Like, what is everybody complaining about? You know,
I
it was
hated
the
it.
last
I hated
episode.
it. I hated it. I hated
It was
it.
6 episodes, Chad. They totally
It was like they
screwed us.
literally
Yeah,
dumpster
but
fired
you-
the whole
you
entire
got-
series.
you
It was
got
like,
past-
let's destroy it all.
you got past all the family drama and you got past all the incest, and it was just a bunch of Lord of the Rings type battles. And
Yeah.
I guess that's what I
Right.
wanted. But House of the Dragon, it's like, okay, that's obviously what people wanted. They wanted family drama and incest. So
Well,
Let's
obviously, it definitely gave new meaning to Uncle, I need you.
yes, no. Like all I
Good
can
old
think about,
Damon.
all I can think about is the South Park movie. Like it's
I
Terrence
love
and Phillip
Damon,
and the
though.
Uncle
I watched-
Fucker song. That's all I can think
Uncle
about.
Fucker.
I watch it because I love Damon Targaryen. I that and Rhaena. She's a
I just feel
badass.
like they
That
are
was so-
always going to create characters in those types of series that are just the most wicked, whatever, and then they're going to create the nice person that ends up getting killed in 2 episodes. Like it's
I
like
liked
it's not they're
the
not
last
meant to
episode.
survive at all.
The last episode was, I loved the last episode. Last Sunday, that was great. I'm sorry. She could have totally torched them assholes, and she didn't.
That was my call too. Like right when the episode started, I'm
I was
like,
going,
okay,
"Oh, she's gonna burn them.
there's gonna be like the dragon ex machina. The dragon's gonna like pop up at the last minute and
Oh,
stop.
I knew that was
everything.
gonna happen. You
And
knew
I'm
it
like-
because she snuck off. You knew she was going to grab her dragon.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. It didn't
Spoiler,
happen.
Well, it's all the memes are all over social media now.
Right.
So, but and the foot thing, was not expecting the foot thing. That blew my mind. What the fuck? But I'm not gonna
Yes.
say anything. People who watch it know what I'm talking about.
No, that's I'm hoping for something big in the final episode. I'm enjoying Andor, and everybody's hating on that one too.
Andor.
Yeah, it's the Star Wars series. It's like the prequel to Rogue One. It's
It revolves around the one character, right? More
it's so smart that your typical Star Wars fan hates it.
I think people get stuck in the rut of just not wanting them to do anything else with the themes of the storylines, and they just get resentful. Like, because I know I do it on certain stuff. So, like The Walking Dead, I'm totally resentful right now.
I'm over it. I've been
I'm
over it
done.
for
I am
years.
so over with The Walking Dead right now, and I was a
I'm
huge fan.
End it, please.
Yeah.
End it. I'm so done.
I mean, I
You'll
feel
be
like they're
saying
just
that when
gonna
you go to the
they're just gonna end it with whatever the daughter telling, oh, I remember everyone, and then she dies. And then it's like,
Yeah.
great, awesome, great,
Or
that
Rick
you remember
Rick's gonna
everyone.
wake up in the bed like the Wizard of Oz and be like, I had
It
a
was a
dream,
dream.
and you were
If
there.
they pull that
You
dream
were
shit,
there.
It's gonna be a St. Elmo's fire, you mean, where it's all on the kids' heads.
oh my God, no kidding. But
And
yeah,
then it, like Dana Carvey and Mike Myers are gonna come on screen and be like, fished in, fished in.
we'll see what happens, I guess. But other than that, not a whole lot. Just getting ready for Halloween. What about you, Keith? You've been working, it looks like. You got your scrubs on.
Working. On next week, Friday, I signed my contract with Dark Pictures Anthology, which is a computer game company.
Yay!
So I signed that
awesome.
finally.
That's amazing.
So that's quite good. They bought a script of mine,
Exciting.
and yeah, it's taken a while. I've just had to get the percentages right. So that took about a month to get my percentages right, how much I want, sort of thing. So we finally agreed to that. So I'm doing that on Friday afternoon. So before I
That's
come to the
awesome.
show.
Congrats, that's amazing.
It
So
is.
that's good. And then I wrote a short story that's been shortlisted in a competition.
Is that
And
the
we'll
one
see
you
how that
sent
goes.
me?
Yeah, it's that one.
It was so good. I loved it. Okay.
And then I've been commissioned to write a children's book, which is what I'm working on now. So
If
But
they
besides
only
that-
knew your real mind.
I know. What type of children's book is this? Are you
I know.
dating
I'm kind of
children, or are
wondering, you
you?
need to ban it already?
well, you gotta have monsters in it. You gotta have horror. Children love horror.
Uh-huh.
They
So
do.
you gotta have
They
that
really
aspect of it.
do. I know my grandson does.
And besides that, it was good to see Heather Camp in the Midnight Club. It's good to see her come back looking all mumsy and stuff. So I finished
Mumsy.
watching that. And then I'm watching this game show on Netflix called The Mole, which is really good. I highly recommend it. It's really fun.
I remember The Mole. Was this the one that years
Oh,
ago it came
really?
out? Is it a new one? A new version of The Mole?
Yeah, basically they're like they have to do these clues, and they keep adding money to the pot, and there's a
Yeah.
mole that's taking out, but no one knows. And I like it because you don't know who the mole is. So
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
kind of
that-
watching it along.
So ABC years ago did The Mole, and it was I think
Right.
it was on for a year or 2 years, and they stopped. But I loved it because it's almost a bit of like National Treasure meets Clue. Like it's like you're
Right.
trying to figure out how to win competitions. I remember one where they had to sit in a room, and they either had a choice of sitting in this room for however many hours and getting the next clue, or I forget, waiting it out. And so one person sat in the room and they played Tiny Bubbles for 12 hours.
Oh my
For
God.
12 hours. And you sat in this room.
Tiny bubbles in my wine.
Tiny bubbles. Like and literally over and over and over again for 12 hours. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well,
Torture.
that's pretty much it. I mean, watching a lot of stuff on Shudder at the moment. I really recommend the documentary series that's on there now called Queers for Fears.
I haven't seen that.
That's very good. The second episode was about James Whale, and was also about Alfred Hitchcock.
Really?
The episode after that has to do with Frankenstein and the Mummy, which is quite well done. So
Very cool.
Oh wow.
So-
It's on Netflix?
it's on Shudder.
Shutter. Okay, cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah, all the best stuff's on Shudder. If you want good horror,
It
Shudder's
really
the
is.
best
Have you
one to
guys
watch,
tried
so.
Scream? Was it Scream Box? I had it for like a week, and I just
No, I mean, I've
Uh,
been same with Keith. Like Shudder has been where
Yeah.
if I want to watch something new and scary. Because even my friend was trying to find something. I'm like, heck, go on Shudder. There's tons of stuff you can watch it. Or
well watch
like I want
Sissy and
scary,
Deadstream.
and I'm like, okay, then go on Shudder. There's
I
some
Watch
scary
Sissy and
stuff.
Deadstream. You'll enjoy them. I did. I really enjoyed them.
Yeah,
saw-
Deathstream's excellent.
Deadstream is
Watcher.
awesome. It is so good.
Shudder. I saw that one. I really enjoy that one. That's with Micah Monroe playing a young woman who moves to I think it was Bucharest or Prague. Moves there with her boyfriend who is getting a job and or getting some promotion that takes them out there, and she keeps seeing somebody in the window across the street that seems to be watching her, and it's a really really good thriller. Bern Gorman, who's in a lot of the Guillermo del Toro movies, and played Charlie Bluthorn on The Offer earlier this year. He's the person she suspects is following her, and it's just a really excellent movie.
What's
really
it called
enjoyed
again,
that.
Joe?
Watcher.
Watcher. I've seen the ad for it. I haven't watched it yet, but I'll write that down too. Give me something to do.
Oh, and I also watched the new Dario Argento film as well.
I gotta see that.
What is it?
I've been bad.
Is that the
Dark-
The cabinets
Dark
are.
Glasses.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah,
Dark Glasses?
yeah, Dario Argento.
Yeah.
Very, it's good actually. The acting's
All
really
right, that's
good.
what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's very giallo film. It's I would say the only thing different is the blood is a lot more realistic now.
It's
So-
not like bright red.
Not anymore. No, and it's quite.
Or bright.
But
But it's such a signature thing, though, the bright red blood. Though. I don't know.
Because
but
is this,
the
referring to
acting in
form?
it's fantastic. Asia Argento does a really good acting job in it, and the little Chinese boy does fantastic. It's really good acting. I was quite surprised. It was quite good because normally you get kind of great movie but kind of ropey acting in his films. So, but it's not this time around.
I
So
started watching that creepy show about Evita. What's it called? Santa Evita? Is that what it is?
Don't know that one.
That's Keith Santa Evita on Hulu. It's about Vita Perón. What happened to
oh
her
yeah,
body?
yeah, that's excellent. That series
That's
is
really
excellent.
good. I'm like on episode 4. It's all subtitled, but oh my god! Just,
I know, where he's
oh
like
my God.
having sex with the dead body and the dead
Oh,
multiple
that
bodies.
poor
bodies.
woman,
God.
even in peace, she could not rest. You got to watch some of it.
You're
John.
not supposed to do that?
Yeah.
It's a necromomance.
Well, we all
Yeah.
necro caught in a necro romance. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, have to believe. I mean, Eva Durarte de Perón. I mean, I have to sit there and say her death is even more fascinating than her life. And you're like, God
No
Almighty.
kidding. What
Yeah.
a weird historical freaky.
Well, the
phenomenon.
interesting thing is that they must have lifted the ban on her in Argentina because up until about 5 years ago, you still couldn't mention her name.
Yeah.
in
Really?
Argentina. So now this is an Argentinian series about her.
Yeah. It's
So
very, very good. Very, very good.
and they show her in quite a decent light as well. So quite, you know, they weren't
They
slamming her.
humanize her basically. What they're
Yeah.
doing.
But really good acting all the way around. So
Yeah, it is.
Well, this brings us to The Mummy, which is a 1932 American pre-code supernatural horror film directed by Karl Freund. The screenplay by John L. Batterston was adapted from the Trustee, written by Nina Wilcox Putnam and Richard Schreier. Released by Universal Studios, part of the Universal Classic Monsters franchise, the film stars Boris Karloff, Zita Johann, David Manners, Edward von Sloan, and Arthur Byron. In the film, Karloff stars as Imhotep, an ancient Egyptian mummy who was killed for attempting to resurrect his dead lover, Ankh-in-Alman. After being discovered and accidentally brought to life by a team of archaeologists, he disguises himself as a modern Egyptian named Ardeth Bey and searches for Ankh-in-Alman. I'm sure I just massacred that name.
Oxynomen.
Anoxinum.
Anoxynomen or oxynomen, whichever.
Oxymoron.
We'll just call her Ankh for short.
Just call her Ankh. There you go.
Who believes to have been reincarnated in the modern world. Whilst being less culturally impactful than his predecessor, Dracula and Frankenstein, The Mummy was still a moderate success, spawning several sequels, spin-offs, remakes, and re-imagings, and a Hammer horror series as well. So before we get started, let's go to the trailer of The Mummy, and we'll be right back.
Death, eternal punishment for anyone who opens this casket.
The Mummy. Is it dead or alive? Human or inhuman? You'll know. You'll see. You'll feel the awful, creeping, crawling terror that stands your hair on end and brings a scream to your lips. There's nothing on earth like The Mummy.
You will not remember what I show you now, and yet I shall awaken memories of love and crime and death.
Now I know his horrible plan. He is going to kill her and make her a living mummy like himself.
Hello, welcome back to Leisure License Podcast. We're discussing The Mummy from 1932. So, Chad, what are your thoughts of The Mummy?
Well, this was the first time I had seen the original. I've been going back quite a bit and going back and watching these old black and white Universal films. The only one that I was well versed in was The Wolfman for a very long time, and I believe Dracula as well. But I've just been on this trip because a lot of the modern movies have been so horrible lately, you know, and the same thing with the music. So what do? I go back and I search out the catalog for all the things I purposely avoided back when I was younger, and this was one of them. And I tried to put myself into the place of someone in 1932 in the theater watching this for the very first time, and in comparison to the other things that had come before it. I can imagine that a lot of people in the theater were scared out of their damn mind, and possibly quite a few of the women were a little turned on too. It's so subtle. It's the entire performance is very subtle, and it's such a slow build. But Karloff is amazing. he carries the whole film because everyone else is doing that whole 1930s, you know, speaking really, really fast. And, you know, they're all dressed they're out in a tent in the middle of the desert.
Dressed
and
to
of
the
course,
nines.
they're dressed to the nine. And as I guess, I can't say whether or not society was that way in 1932. I wasn't there, but old movies want us to think that that's the way it was. But Karloff was a damn genius through this whole thing. His performance was so creepy, and just man, he kind of got under your skin, you know. And I could see, as we'll talk later, what the 1999 film was trying to do and how they borrowed so much from that. But you know, this being the grandfather of all that, this is a perfect like old monster film. I loved it.
Yeah, and like you said, it's Karloff is carrying the entire movie. He's doing all the work here, because otherwise I feel like they just took the Dracula screenplay and just changed a couple of things around. But Karl Freund being a cinematographer, the film is, I think, a lot more visual than Dracula, which is what I like about it. Zena Johann is sexy as hell.
Very much so. Yeah.
Damsel in distress.
She is, wow, she is a beautiful, beautiful woman. She wasn't in that many movies. Probably married a producer and just kind of lived happily ever after. But the other thing that struck me, that I don't want to. Yeah, I mean, the guy's dead, so he's never going to hear me say this. David Manners, I always find him to be so boring. I found him boring in Dracula. I find him kind of bland in everything. And there was a point where Universal, I guess, was trying to groom him as like the hero of these movies, because he's in so many of them. And he just bores me to tears. I just find him so bland. But other than that, Karloff is fantastic. The set design in this movie is amazing, which it usually is in these Universal movies. And I had the opportunity, October 1st, Fathom Events put this and Bride of Frankenstein back in theaters. So it's fresh in my mind because I just saw it a couple weeks ago in a movie theater, and it was just so cool just seeing it play out.
Right.
Yeah.
Seeing it play out on the big screen. It was so cool. And you just kind of the atmosphere of it just kind of engulfs you. It's really that good. It's the atmosphere in Karloff really carrying this movie, though. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. I also think that this version of this movie is similar to Chad as well. I've never seen this movie. I was surprised because I was starting to watch it. I was like, have I? And I was like, no, because I've definitely seen Dracula a million times. I've seen Frankenstein a million times, and Wolfman, same. And so it was nice to have fresh eyes to watch this, and immediately how the story just takes you in. The difference of one is you get this epilogue through a backstory, right, which we'll get into with the remake. This, everything is the events of something happening, which is man's hubris, right? Opening a box he should not open, and it all begins, right? There's a lot, we'll talk about the other mummy, about a lot of events have to happen to get to where you get to, where things hit the fan. I loved just the simplicity to this movie in that sense, that the beats are carrying you throughout the story, and you're along for the movements. You're along for when it's 3 years later and now they're being reacquainted, and it's this almost like a dance between the mummy and these characters, trying to get them to be involved in what he wants from them. And not knowing, like, as an audience member, you're like, I know because I've seen the remake of it. I was like, well, I kind of think I know where this is going, but I don't. But then it just was, it was lovely to see that dance. I wasn't as big a fan as Zeta. I felt like sometimes she was a little aloof, a little too much aloof all the time. I felt it made sense when she was being lured and being pulled by him, but like in the beginning when she's just standing there and she's like, she's like just staring into nothing, and I'm like, girl, like you don't have to be aloof all the time. And she was a little aloof the entire time.
I think that's the way they like to portray their heroines back there, because they wanted that light, to catch it, just that far away.
Well, but I felt like they meant to make her a stronger character, because she felt very independent.
See, I think this is where the film was supposed to be a lot longer, and they film scenes where they have her character through other periods of time, and she dies horribly because she never gets resurrected. But they did film it, but they cut all that out because they thought it slowed down the pace of the film. So that might be the reason why she's like, so she's always feeling like there's a part of her soul missing through her life, sort of thing, and that's why she would act that way.
She's supposed to be a reincarnation. That's why I wish they wouldn't have kept that out. I wish did somebody ever put the moment? Is there a totality of that movie somewhere around? Did they ever put the unedited?
To be honest, a lot of that Universal stuff, once it was cut, was cut. That's very rare that stuff
they
would be
burned
around.
it. They didn't keep
That's
it.
right.
They were just like, bye. Gone.
We're lucky that we found that the scenes were found from Frankenstein of Colin Clive saying, you know, in the name of God, now I know what it's like to be God, and Frankenstein, the monster throwing the little girl into the lake, because we're lucky we found those at all. Like if there's anything from these movies that's missing, it's very unlikely we're ever going to see them again, unfortunately.
I think also what's interesting about the film is that it is what you would do for love. And so it is, I feel like I have a bit of empathy for the Mummy versus like the one we will talk about. It's sort of breaking the rules and like doing a lot more getting and other
Karloff, things. He's kind of a mean asshole.
Well,
I think it's what he was doing for love.
He just wants her back. He doesn't care what he is.
But it's also makes sense though, because he kind of lost her, and now with Keith, what he said, that even makes it worse, right? If he's constantly losing her, then that sucks. Like,
well, the thing is, he doesn't constantly lose her. What happens is, because this is the first time he comes back, but because of her feeling this missing part of her soul, that she keeps coming back, expecting, waiting for something to come back for her. Which he does. Of course, he doesn't come back until the present time in here. So she dies horribly in every single decade that she gets reincarnated.
Oh, wow. Oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah, anything that happens to her is a lot better than what the hero of the film was trying to do to her through.
Yeah.
Like, like, hey, I know I just met you and this is crazy, but I love you. Stay here on the couch. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I mean,
the day he meets her.
I also love that we have no idea where he is, and then all of a sudden she disappears. Oh, we should look at the museum. I was like, what? And I'm like, excuse me? You're like, we looked everywhere. Oh, but the museum. Let's go there. They're probably there. I was like,
Well, his father is like the head of the museum, and they found a girl there. So I think that's how the two came together, right? Because they're like, oh, this girl passed out in front of the museum. So he probably got a phone call. But the thing that strikes me is all the stuff that you think of, like the stereotypical mummy movie. You really don't have that, except for the first sequence when the hand move, when the eyes open and then the hand moves slightly and Imhotep comes out of the tomb. That's like what everybody thinks of when they think of the old mummy movies. So it's weird because it kind of, if you're not familiar with this movie, if you hadn't already seen it, that's probably what you were expecting, is just kind of like this shambling monster that's just coming at you all the time. And this movie isn't like that at all. It's not until the mummy's hand, the mummy's tomb, the mummy's ghost, the mummy's curse that you start getting that, like, the mummy dragging his leg coming after you really slowly.
The corpse.
But he still always seems to catch him, even with his disability.
Well, I mean, the one thing I do like about this is you see he has power in him, like just the way he does things, and there is power, but it's a limited amount of power. So he's not like completely strong or unstoppable for that matter. So I did like that just with the gaze, he could stop you, that was kind of cool.
But just that Boris Karloff,
the other star of this movie, the other star of this movie is Jack Pierce.
Yeah.
His makeup design.
The makeup is fantastic.
I mean,
oh God,
the book Boris Karloff and the Mummy, they use like this really like dangerous, it's like cotton and glue, and they put it to his face, and then the bandages are individually wrapped around him. It would take him up to 8 to 12 hours just to have that one shot of him as the Mummy.
But
that's the reason why, like, if you look at, especially on Blu-ray, when it even stands up on Blu-ray, when you look at it, it's like you can see like the dirt in his face, and that's all. That was all hand painted and everything.
Wow,
it totally stands out. And when he has that one classic scene where he's got his turban, I don't know what those things are called, the hat,
the fez.
The Fez, when he's got that one classic Boris Karloff, the dark-eyed look where he just stares into the camera. You know, it's like so badass. It really is. But I mean, I don't think anybody else could have really carried the first one off.
No, I think he did carry the weight of this movie, and every scene was kind of like you're waiting.
Of an actor, they did the interviews about say he's a lovable, gentle soul, and then he just transforms into this evil, you know.
Even in these gangster movies, even like in oh God, what's the one Howard Hawks did? The Criminal Code. He is so intimidating in that. Everything that when he plays a villain, because it's strange because when you see him play like a kindly old man, you feel for him, and then when you see him play a villain, it's amazing. Good. He can turn it like a switch. He can go from being the kindly old gentleman that you feel sorry for as he's pleading, please don't destroy, my life's work, and like the Columbia movies that came a couple years after, to just this vicious badass that just comes off so intimidating. He really was a fantastic actor, despite how people kind of tried to write him off as just a horror guy. He's legitimately a great actor.
I mean, look at him in Mario Bava's the Mario Bava film that he did, where he plays the warlock. I mean, you feel sorry for him, but he's quite an evil character at the same time. So you're kind of torn watching him in that as well.
Yeah. What is he? The Wendigo? What is he called in that?
The Warlock.
Yeah.
And Shanta, Keith brought up Mario Bava, not me.
I know. That's what I was gonna say. He said Mario Bava. In Joe's defense, he did not say Mario.
I did not bring him up this time.
Yeah. But this movie just came up. I mean, this is perfectly timed too to be received because just 10 years prior to that, Howard Carter had opened King Tut's tomb, and there was all that thing about the curse and the mummy's curse because people were dying, and and I mean, people were really feeding off that, everything that was going on, newsworthy of that archaeological find back then too.
Well, when this movie opens up, it is, I think, 1921 when the movie opens.
Right.
And then we go ahead 10 years.
Right.
So,
and then we get the British Museum stealing everyone's artifact like
of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, they do, and they still do.
Well, I mean, if you want to see something, you should go if you ever come to London, go to the British Museum, and in Greece, amazing. The great big
temple.
The outside of it, where all the gods and stuff like that were outside the original temple.
They got the pillars of Nebuchadnezzar in there too. I was in there. I go, what a bunch of
museum stole
criminals.
all that.
They've got it all. They stole it.
The curse will come and get them.
The
New York City used to have a whole temple in there too. They stole one too.
So when you go to Athens, you can see the ruins. If you want to see what the ruins look like with the original fixtures, you go to the British Museum. Yeah. They're in the British Museum.
The Elgin marbles. They still never get those back. I don't think they're ever going to get those back.
No, we got some of the mummies as well in the British Museum as well. So
I transported some mummies back in my art handling days. I don't remember.
You never told me that.
We didn't even know that until we had already shipped and delivered them because they didn't want us to know.
It was like part of cargo. You're like, wait, what is this?
Would people actually believe? Like, it's weird. Would people in this day and age still believe that? Like, is that why they're not telling you that you're transporting a mummy?
People's lives today are so mundane and boring that they just, I think a lot of them pretend to be shaken up by things just to seem interesting.
I also think it also could be a fear of someone actually taking something because that's valuable. A corpse's body is a valuable, very valuable.
Yeah,
that is true
to somebody.
And it's very poltergeist, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. I know. I'm very lucky.
But you left the bodies in reverse.
Yeah, I've hauled mummies before for museums. I've hauled the Gutenberg Bibles, like 13 of the Gutenberg Bibles I've had in my possession before. It was a great career. It really was. And now I'm glad it's over.
But if you hauled all the mummies, what happened to the daddies? Sorry.
Well, there was a crazy archaeologist back then. His name was Belzani. And he never wanted to do anything proper with all these remains. And he knew that they used to wrap, expensive items in with the mummy as they went along, jewelry, this and that. And he would pile up, I'm serious, all kinds of mummies, and would jump into a pile of dead people to break it up so he could go through all of this stuff to steal all the gems and stuff out of.
Jeez.
So I'd say
God.
Egypt has been pilfered quite a bit.
It sounds like stage diving into the front row of a Def Leppard
But
concert.
it's pretty
That's
much
good.
that. Pretty much.
I mean, it's quite. I mean, they do go into a little bit about what they did for the final rites of the mummy as well, a little bit in the film, and that must have been quite shocking, considering that they put that corkscrew up the nostril and they twirl it around and bring the brains through the nose.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
That was in the
Yeah.
opening too. I would say also at one point, the mummy is literally the narrator at some point, because he's kind of giving the backstory of, which I thought was a brilliant sort of way of like telling that story, when he's, giving her the view into that pool, and then the pool swirls and it takes her back to the past. I was like, that's cool that, that
You gotta
effect.
put yourself back when this film came out too, because I mean, that's where all the Indiana Jones movies kind of start out, because it was a
Right.
time when the world was still not really explored. You didn't have the internet, you didn't have all this mass transit. I mean, there was still a lot of mystery still then. That's what makes it so great.
When the remake came out, the internet wasn't really like it is today. So but we can get to that. And I there's a lot to say about the Indiana Jones movies when we get to the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I mean, I said another interesting. This is the director is the cinematographer for Fritz Lang's Metropolis.
Oh wow.
I mean, so that's why why the film has such a decent look to it. And
It
I have
does.
to say, it doesn't feel too soundstagey either, this film.
No, not at all.
Not as bad
No.
as Dracula does. No, Dracula I feel suffers from that more, but this one actually has more of a visual.
I'm still wanting to know why Dracula had armadillos in Transylvanian Castle. I might never get over that one.
because it was an odd creature, so it was an odd creature, so I'm sure they're
I
like,
know, but I
put that in there.
I would have never noticed, but my husband saw it, and it's just like, those are armadillos. And I go, no shit, what are they doing in Transylvania?
Transylvania, Texas.
And
Yeah,
I was gonna say, and then a Texan was like, "It's an armadillo."
armadillo. I haven't hit
But
one
I mean,
this
probably
year, so
just
I guess
writers
I'm
back
wrong.
then didn't think, oh, why would they probably just thought, oh, it's an armadillo. They're all over the place. Well, they didn't think, oh, why would an armadillo be in
Well, that's like
Transylvania?
Nosferatu. Didn't they use like a hyena for the wolf or something like that?
I forgot what it was, but yeah, it was
Something like that. Some weird species.
Well, I think it's exotic, right? So if people are not gonna know, like again,
No, they wouldn't
nowadays
back
you can
then.
Google and be like, "That's not
Plus, I'm
native
saying
to the
world was-
region."
the world was still kind of innocent back then,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
to a degree, yeah.
to a degree, but still a lot better as now.
All except for the guy who was once again trying to get the girl on the couch.
Get
He
the
was
girl
the
on
only
couch.
non-innocent person in 1932.
Well, I mean, as far as Hollywood, that probably.
That just, I don't know, man. That just, I've done some pretty shisty shit over the years, and that's got to be in the top 5 right there. Look, like I said, I know you've been through a lot of personal trauma, and there's mummies out to get you, but
Right.
I'll be right back. Don't
I'll
move
be
a
right
muscle.
back.
Don't
That's
move
right.
muscle. I'll be
Stay
here.
on the couch. I'll be right back. You just rest.
And I love that, part of her response is, "I gotta get gussied up so that I can look good." Please forgive me. I gotta look good for you.
That was definitely like a thunderbolt hit those two. That was probably the quickest I fell in love I've seen in any movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, just here,
I think a
drink
lot
this
of it
drink
is
and don't
also
worry
because
about the
he's-
pill fizzing in the bottom of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of it is also because these movies were generally like 70 minutes. So we gotta get right to it.
Yeah,
Hurry-
basically.
hurry it up.
That's true. That is true. You're
I think
right.
that's part of why like a lot of these movies have like these very fast romances. Because why would you fall in love with somebody the day you met them? Like I've been attracted to someone like the day I'd meet her, but never like I'm in love with you. We need to spend the rest of eternity together.
I know.
It's more like it's
I won't.
more like, oh my God, I must have you now. Let's get it over with and go on your way. But don't fall in love with them.
Yeah. I mean,
know your dad's in the next room, but
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. Her father was literally in the next room.
Oh yeah, he was.
The
wasn't he?
opening scene between the two of them, I thought they were together at first because the way it made it sound, I was like, oh wait,
That's
no,
what
wait, okay.
yes.
It's because back then too, a lot of older men had younger women as their wives. I was like, oh, I didn't
But
think
we
about
always
it.
said that about Dark Shadows because Barnabas was older than all. He was, him and Mitchell Ryan were always with the young girls.
Yeah.
I guess that was just an accepted thing.
Well,
nobody
to be
cared.
honest, it's still like that today. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
when's the last time you saw Harrison Ford or Robert Redford or any of those old time actors with a wife his age? They're always
Yeah,
like 20,
no.
30 years younger.
Especially Leo DiCaprio. You got to be under 25 for him.
That's become a meme now.
I'm a washed up nobody author, and my wife is 17 years younger than me. Okay, so
I joked with a 23-year-old on her 23rd birthday, a girl at work. I was like, two more years, you're gonna be too old to get Leo DiCaprio. So you gotta
I
get on
know.
it.
He's never going to live that one down, is he?
no, man, I'm pushing 50. My wife turns 32 next week. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't say anything. My other half's 25 years younger than I am.
Oh,
so I
dude.
can't say anything.
Dude, it's kind of hard keeping up
I'll
sometimes.
rob in the cradle. Bunch of
Well,
pervs.
Hey, if we
someone's
don't,
gonna-
somebody
someone's
else
gonna change
will.
their diapers in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, that's what I'm scared to death is when I reach that old man from Willy Wonka thing going on where I stay in bed all the time. I can't imagine that
Oh
she's
my
gonna
God,
stick
you're not
around.
decrepit. You're not that much older, y'all. Jeez.
No,
Y'all got one
the-
foot in the
no.
grave right now.
But there is that thing like in 20, 30 years time when your partner, you're quite hip and happening with them, and then all of a sudden your partner turns into Anna Nicole Smith.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Who didn't grow up not far from where I am right now.
I mean,
Was
also,
it
but
Mahia? It was Mahia, right? Right, Chad? Mahia?
Mahia?
That's where Anna Nicole Smith grew up.
I believe so. Yeah,
It is
it's not
Mahia,
too far from here. No,
Yeah.
she had a very, very kind of mid-sized Texas town thing going on with the big hair and everything. So yeah.
But I mean, I thought that. I mean, I guess the Mummy. I guess probably what keeps it alive basically is the love story behind it. That love is timeless. I mean, it's pretty much what William Shakespeare's whole career is based on, isn't it?
Right.
Love is old as time, and I mean,
It's
even Angela Lansbury sang about it in Beauty and the Beast. Tale is old
Oh,
as
Angela.
time.
Too
Poor
soon,
Angela,
too soon.
yeah. I loved her. I don't care.
I don't feel poor Angela. She lived a very long life.
she
Thank
doesn't
God,
know,
thank
I
God
mean,
she
not-
lived and died, peacefully. It wasn't like
she had a
something
great
traumatic.
life.
Yeah.
The only
The
thing
only-
that pisses me off about her passing is, of course, social media was immediately up in arms
Troll.
about it, but not a damn person talked about bed knobs and broomsticks.
I
man.
did.
No,
And
they
I
that-
did. I
That
posted, swear to God, I posted literally my favorite movie of hers. And I
Yes.
said, because the scene that I posted was her doing, she was doing the spell, locomotion.
Yes.
so
yes.
It's where she gives flair. And I was like, she definitely had magic and flair because she just was that type of
I
person.
loved her with her old movies, her old Hollywood days with Victor Mature, like in Samson and Delilah. She was in it, stuff like that.
The only bad thing about Angela Lansbury is that when she was like 16, she still looked 50.
I know.
She did have a matronly kind of.
Oh yeah,
Do-
of course.
Do you know that? I mean, she played Elvis Presley's mother in Blue Hawaii, and Elvis Presley was 8 years older than she was. What does that tell
That's
you?
true. That's
The-
true.
The other thing is that nobody in the horror community brought this up, and they should have, because she's, to my knowledge, and I cannot think of anyone else. I think she's the first actress to ever be nominated for an Oscar for a horror movie when she did
Oh.
Picture of Dorian Gray. I don't think anybody precedes her in that.
Oh, that's
Really?
right. She was the hapless wench that fell in love with him, and he was
Yeah,
beating her.
yeah.
He married her. No, he
Listen.
slept with her and deflowered her and just tossed her aside like an old shoe is what he did.
And she could play a really good bitch if she wanted to. I mean, watch The Manchurian Candidate.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Oh
I mean,
yeah.
what a cow. And what about Neil Jordan's The Company of Wolves as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
She had a
And of
great
course,
career.
she's the original Mrs. Lovett from Sweeney Todd.
Yes.
Was she the original?
Yep, the original
I didn't
cast
know that.
production. Original on Broadway, yeah.
She worked
Which-
right up until whenever, didn't she? I
Yeah.
don't think she was like totally bedridden or anything.
No, she did something 2 years ago on Broadway. She did like a little stent thing, but she was active, very active.
Well, she's
Same
the
as like Betty White. Like she
Right.
worked up until when she stopped working was when people were like, uh-oh, something's wrong. Because it was literally like there was a year of silence from her. And I
Yeah.
was like, uh-oh, you know.
Well, she's the original Mame as well. And no one, and she's to Mame is what Barbara Streisand is the funny girl, basically. Is like no one can ever do that role ever
Right.
again because she's like
Yeah.
the ultimate person. So
Yeah.
good
And,
old. And
I
On a
was like-
lighter note, according to John Waters, he ran into her in a sex club in the 80s. So that means in her 50s and 60s, she was still out there being a freak, according to John Waters.
Bless her.
Yeah.
Well,
We're not dead yet. I mean,
well, I mean,
50s is when you're starting to get your second win. What are you
I
talking
know.
about?
It's just like I used to think when I was my daughter's age, 50 is going to be decrepit. Now it's just like, what the fuck is everybody talking about?
well,
Yeah,
they did a show when she passed on BBC News here. They did with the memorial. They had people talking about her, and they said that the one thing about her, like Julie Andrews, they talk like sailors.
Oh yeah. I can
Yeah.
picture it too.
So did Olivia de Havilland. She had a potty mouth to end everything. I mean,
Yeah.
It's
all
funny
her-
because we think of these women as being so prim and proper, but they were like Phyllis Diller. Apparently,
Oh, yeah.
they were
They
all
used to
like,
I
drink
mean,
and
they also
smoke just
played
as
very
much-
matronly type roles.
They
a lot
drink
like
and
a
smoke
nanny.
with the best
you
of
know,
them.
an au pair. Like, what do you think an au pair is gonna be like?
Yeah.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. this.
Yeah.
So does anyone want to mention anything more about The Mummy before we move on to the 1999 film?
Other than it was beautifully shot, and I
It
love
was
it. I will
beautifully
watch it every
shot,
time it's
yeah.
on.
Oh, I do want to mention Edward Van Sloan because he's playing again basically the same part as when he was Van Helsing in Dracula, but he's in a lot of these movies during that time, and I feel like he never gets the credit he deserves for a lot of his performances. I mean, here he's basically playing almost exactly the same role as when he played Van Helsing. But yeah, definitely I want to give him props because I really feel like he should be mentioned more, and he's just not for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, he's brilliant. I like all his stuff as well. When those character actors, they always steal the films, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
They absolutely do.
Are you looking for a graphic design that will take you to the next level? Or something that shows confidence within a growing market to help you stand out amongst the crowd? Amazing Designs gives consistent and on-brand designs whether you are looking for something conservative or you want to let your imagination soar. They bring professionalism to a high standard and they're able to visualize your ideas and give them that extra edge. Working one-on-one with their designers will give you a design that will live up to your expectations and more. Affordable, expert designs for all occasions, whether it's logos, brochures, or whatever you can dream up. Amazing Designs is your to-go place for creativity and hands-on expertise. Try Amazing Designs today. Contact them via email at amazingdesigns505@gmail.com. That's amazingdesigns505@gmail.com, or reach out by phone at country code 1-805-203-0427. We love them so much here at the Literary License Podcast that we use them ourselves.
But I'd rather be different than be the same.
I mean,
Well, this brings us to The Mummy, which is a 1999 American action-adventure fantasy film written and directed by Stephen Sumner. It is a remake of the 1932 film of the same name, starring Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, John Hannah, and Arnold Vosloo in the title role as the reanimated mummy. The film follows adventurer Rick O'Connell as he travels to the city of the dead.
Hamunaptra.
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 with a
Karma
librarian
Sutra.
and her Karma Sutra. With a librarian and her older brother, where they accidentally awaken Imhotep, a cursed high priest with supernatural powers. Development of the film took years and multiple screenplays and directors attached. In 1997, Stephen Sumner successfully pitched the version of the more adventurous and romantic take on the source material. Principal photography took place in Morocco and the United Kingdom. The crew endured dehydration, sandstorms, and snakes shooting on location in the Sahara Desert. Industrial Light and Magic provided many of the visual effects, blending live action footage and computer-generated imagery to create the titular monster. Jerry Goldsmith provided the orchestrated score. The Mummy was theatrically released on May 7th, 1999. Despite mixed reviews from critics, it was a commercial success and grossed over $416.4 million worldwide against a production budget of $80 million. The film would spawn two direct sequels, The Mummy Returns and The Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. It also led to spin-offs such as the animated series and a prequel to Scorpion King in 2002, which generated its own sequels. Attempts to reboot the property and kickstart a new media franchise led to a 2017 film, which we'll never discuss. So what we're going to do is cut to the trailer of The Mummy from 1999 and be right back.
Where did you get this?
On a dig down in Thebes.
Jonathan, I think you found something.
There is an ancient legend of a place known as the City of the Dead.
They call it the doorway to hell.
Where the earliest pharaohs were said to have hidden the wealth of Egypt.
Are we going into battle?
There's something out there. Something underneath that sand.
They came to uncover its secrets.
Mummies, my good son. This is where they made the mummies.
They sought to unlock its treasure.
And then there was light.
Oh, boy.
What they did
Oh, my God. It does exist.
I think this may be the Book of the Dead.
was unleash a force unlike any the world has ever known.
You must not read from the book! What the hell is that?
You have unleashed a creature that we have feared for more than 3,000 years.
Whoa!
He will regenerate and no longer be the undead.
We are in serious trouble.
On May 7th.
Can you swim?
If the occasion calls for it.
Trust me, it calls for it.
Universal Pictures invites you.
His powers are growing.
Run! This just keeps getting better and better.
To experience the adventure.
It appears he's already chosen his human sacrifice.
That will live forever.
If he turns me into a mummy, you're the first one I'm coming after.
Go!
Hello, welcome back to the Literary License Podcast, and we're discussing The Mummy from 1992. And starting with you, John, what are your thoughts on The Mummy from 1999?
I have not seen this in a very long time, so I was watching it yesterday, and I was like, I love the adventure to it all, but there's a lot of things that have to happen in order for The Mummy to exist there. Because I was like literally going, okay. So first they have to get the key, and then they have to get the book, and then they have to get the key with the book, and then they have to so there's a lot of things that have to happen. Like, I don't know if you all kind of seen it that way, but I was watching it going, technically,
It's very Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, you literally have to go on a quest to wake something really bad, and all of the stars have to align. Just take the instance, okay, when they're on the boat, right, and that boat goes down, it goes ablaze. If that key fell in the water, then there's no more movie. Like, literally all these things had to fall into place to be like, and now he's here. And that the other part was, it took more than half the movie to get to where the mummy existed or was there, right? It it took a while to get to where now the mummy is there, and now it's, he's unleashed, and now the plagues of the
10 plagues of Egypt. It wasn't 7, but they said 10.
But obviously Brendan Fraser was very dreamboaty,
Yes, he was. I love him in that. Oh my
And
God, he's so
love me some Rachel
swashbuckling.
Weisz. Like I love me some Rachel Weisz. She's one of my favorites. And she plays that like
Yeah.
strong, heroine.
She's a
trying, "Don't tell me
librarian.
what to do. I'm a librarian."
I'm a librarian.
A klutzy librarian, but a librarian, very smart, But
They all had a lot of chemistry. Her brother, her, and O'Connell. That was what I loved about it. But I mean, it's got horror, it's got comedy, it's got adventure, it's got mystery, it's got all. I mean, and they got the sexiest villain like ever for bald dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just something about it, and he's such a great villain. I just love watching him.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's they brought him back for that reason too, right? Because
Oh my
everyone's
God,
like,
he was excellent in that. Just excellent. These are my favorite movies. They're just so much fun to watch, and they're funny. And Benny has to be my all-around favorite person. And I mean, he's got the best one-liners. Your strength gives me strength. He's a coward. He's a fiend. He's a thief. He has no loyalty. But I mean, he's got all these one-liners. Like he goes, "I would tell you, but you'll just start hurting me again." Stuff like that.
Or what does he say? He's like, "My children, you don't have any children, but I might.
I might.
I might someday." It's so cute.
I mean,
Do you know they had to give them special insurance because they were worried about them getting abducted in Morocco? And I've been there. That can be a scary place.
Wow.
So I could see where they would do that with Brendan Fraser, especially.
I found it quite weird with Kevin J. O'Connor, though. I mean, I like his character, and I thought, it's not about his character, but he was supposed to be like one of our greatest actors. I remember they were spouting him around when Peggy Sue got married when he
They
first
were grooming
appeared.
him for it.
And then he becomes like this character, which he does the same character over and over. Like, if you ever saw Deep Rising,
Yeah.
he's that same character in Deep Rising with Treat Williams. Fantastic film. It's great little action, but. Yeah, so I kind of wonder, like, when did he turn into this? Because now we don't see him at all anymore. So I don't know what happened to him.
I think he just come out with something, didn't he?
Kevin Joe, I don't know. I'll look him up real quick. But yeah,
Brendan
he just kind of
Fraser.
became
Brendan Fraser.
Oh, Brendan Fraser just came out with a new movie, which he's getting huge acclaims for,
Yeah.
where he gained a lot of weight, and he was also in Doom Patrol as well.
Yeah.
He was in the series Doom Patrol.
But
You don't notice him because he's the 10 guy in Doom Patrol.
But I think, but Keith was talking about Kevin J. O'Connor, not
Oh, sorry.
not Brendan Fraser. And I'm gonna look real quick and see if there's anything he's been in recent.
Brendan Fraser's come back after having a breakdown as well.
Yeah.
He had a breakdown.
Yeah.
That's why he disappeared. And then there is but I mean, he did quite a series of films, didn't he, from around this time? There was George of the Jungle and School
Bedazzled.
Ties. Bedazzled, yeah.
Bedazzled is
Bedazzled.
probably my favorite film of his ever.
Oh, with what's her name?
Elizabeth
oh my God.
Hurley.
Yes,
Elizabeth Hurley.
Hurley. Yeah, the
John
devil.
Hannah. John Hannah was great. He plays Evie's brother. I loved him
Oh, yeah.
in the series Spartacus. He was Lucy Lawless' husband. He was just fantastic in that. I always thought of him as a comedian, doing.
He was coming off Four
fantastic
Weddings
in
and a
that.
Funeral. That's where he was coming off from when he got put in this film, sort of thing. So
Kevin
And
J.
Patricia
O'Connor.
Velasquez. Oh my God! If I was a girl, I'd hit that. She was beautiful.
Kevin
They
J.
had
O'Connor's
dress
found himself in the direct-to-video realm a lot lately, or maybe the direct-to-streaming realm now, like Exorcism at 60,000 Feet, Flight of the Living Dead. So yeah, it looks like he's
Sharknado 7 just around the corner, probably.
So yeah, he's doing a lot of Wish Upon a Unicorn, which I did not hear. Which he's still working. He's just working in stuff we never hear about. I know of Exorcism at 60,000 Feet because that's made by the people who made the Girls and Corpses magazine. And that's with Bill Moseley, Adrian Barbeau, Lance Henriksen, Bai Ling, so Kelly Maroney. So he's finding himself in those.
It was driving me crazy. The guy that played the protector of the tribes that was helping, it was driving me nuts. I was like, I know I've seen him in something recently, and it's driving me crazy.
He's been in a few other things.
No, he's in the new Star Trek series, the Discovery series, and I was like, oh my God, you're the yeah. So I was like, kind of like happy to be like,
Oded Bear.
Oded Bear.
Bear.
Yeah.
I believe that's how you say it.
The interesting
Go
thing
ahead.
about that character is that it's actually what they did is they took the Imhotep and Ardeth Bey characters, which were both played by Karloff in the original. They split them into two characters.
Yeah.
Well, they did say that they borrowed a lot of this. I watched how they made the movie, and they did do a lot of stuff to give, huge nods and love letters to the original Mummy. And especially, they said they tried to really do that when Brendan Fraser's fighting all these mummies. Some are CGI, and some of them are real guys that they blended together. And they did take the stories that were kind of missing from the 1932 version, and they put it into this. So then you do find out that these people were in love through the centuries, and they just wanted to find each other. And it does take back up in the sequel.
Yeah, but they also, like with this, it is a bit more, the first one was losing someone you love and then trying to bring them back, right? This one is having an affair, cheating, then killing your husband. Then you kill yourself, and then you think, oh, bring me back. And
I just love how they did all the elaborate Egyptian stuff, because I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I love how they brought up stuff. Well, Seti the first was no wimp for a pharaoh. He was really a big deal. I think Ramses was his the second he's the Moses, supposedly Ramses pharaoh.
Yeah.
But they did a lot of that.
I cut Chad off earlier, and I apologize. What were you going to say, Chad?
No, I skipped this film when it first came out. I mean, this movie came out like what, a week, 2 weeks before The Phantom Menace.
That's what they were worried about when it first came out. They thought that they were not going to have a lot of viewership because the Phantom Menace.
That's all anybody cared about in May of 1999 was the Phantom Menace.
Well, that was the first Star Wars in how long?
Yeah.
Like it was forever.
But it was the same
years.
It was the same thing for The Matrix. The Matrix came out about that time as well.
You're right.
It wasn't until like I remember after I saw The Phantom Menace, like for the 13th time, I'm like, okay, they have these new things called DVD players, and they're really expensive right now. I don't give a
rewatch
shit.
it.
I'm gonna go buy one just so I can have The Phantom Menace on DVD.
And you didn't have to rewind it. Was amazing.
Right. And then The Phantom Menace didn't even come out on DVD until like 2 or 3 years later. It was released on VHS only when it was released. And here I had this really expensive paperweight sitting on top of my television for no reason. So I went to Suncoast Video. I don't know if anybody remembers those from the malls.
remember it.
Suncoast Video, and I just started buying DVDs, and I bought The Matrix and I bought The Mummy because I had to own everything on DVD at the time. If you had an impressive I was in the Army, so you had to impress people with something. And so I remember when I finally put in The Mummy, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be like an Indiana Jones knockoff featuring Encino Man. And just, oh man, I just remember like 10 minutes into it, I was just like, it was so like the comedy in a lot of parts were so subtle, but it got such a great reaction. And then the special effects and the over the top adventure. And I'm like, wow, this is the fourth Indiana Jones movie I didn't even know I wanted until we got that fourth Indiana Jones movie and realizes we didn't want that either.
If you went to the cinema to watch it like I did, and I watched the second one at the theater too, but I mean, just the reaction from the audience, they loved all the slapstick comedy.
It's one of those movies I wished I'd seen in a theater, but once again, we were all saving our pennies for the big George Lucas experience.
That's right.
And yet it made $400 million against an $80 million budget, so it was extremely successful.
Right. Yeah,
and I was saying the same thing last night. I was like, this is an Indiana Jones movie. I even joked to my roommate. I was like, if anything, the remake should have been Dracula and the Mummy from 1932, and then Raiders of the Lost Ark and this.
Right.
Yeah.
This owes as much to Indiana Jones movies and just a lot of stuff from that time period that as it does to the Mummy, because it really took everything that had come out in the 65 years from the Mummy, anything that was set in a desert, it worked with it. It worked it in somehow. And it kind of paid homage.
They had to give them a special drink concoction because they were all dehydrating and getting sick, because it really is blistering hot there. I can't imagine being out. Well, we took camel ride way out in the desert, and I was blistering hot. So I mean, it's hot. I can't imagine being in a movie and working out. It's just freaking hot there, and it's sand and dust and spiders and snakes and oh my! I mean, it's just full of creatures. It just is. So I mean, it was a good place for him though, but I thought it was. I just loved how. The comedy's fun. I just like the romance and the comedy and the.
It still holds up though.
Up in one.
It's almost been 25 years and it still holds up.
Yeah.
And it has an awesome roller coaster at Universal Studios.
Oh yes, I was on that. They make you lock up your stuff before you get on? Because it just goes ding. Yeah, I love that freaking ride.
It's just such a fun movie. It really is. And when I was watching it last night, I was watching with my roommate, and I don't remember if I'd seen the whole thing all the way through, and he didn't remember if he'd ever seen the whole thing all the way through.
Right.
And during the movie, he kept saying, "This is what I want in movies: this grand, epic adventure story." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the thing." With these beautiful sets built out somewhere. It's not all CGI nonsense. It's not all filmed on blue screens. It actually is, and it looks so much better. It looks amazing, and you actually kind of feel yourself kind of swept up in the adventure of this movie. And
it's also you're swept up in the period and the time, right? So I think there is that. I was just watching Death of the Nile. I just love just the style and the way way it just felt. And that's what rewatching it again. It was like
people just kind of languish for old Hollywood type movies.
Well, it's just that the way they dressed and the way the way everything kind of was in that sense, like the style to me just always pulls me in.
Well, especially if you watch it in the theater, you do really just go into the. I mean, because it draws you in. And it's just so much fun. The second one I love a lot.
I've tried to bring back the fedora 3 times and I get laughed at each time. So
you gotta keep at it.
No, you need the safari hat. The safari hat. That's
the pith helmet.
The pith helmet.
Yeah, the pith. That's what you need.
But I think the thing is, and why Vicky says we kind of long for I mean, this is now an older movie. Like Chad said, it's almost 25 years old. I think there's just it's the craftsmanship that goes into it. Whereas now, everything's like it doesn't matter. The computer people are going to put it in later anyway, and I think it actually harms how movies are made.
But it was made in a time when everybody was trying their damnedest to make it. I mean, look at The Matrix. Look at The Phantom Menace. Look at the groundbreaking CGI from The Phantom Menace and The Matrix. It all still holds up today.
Yeah.
But this was, I mean, granted, this had its CGI moments, but this was mostly shot on either on location or on sound stages, and it's quite possibly the more beautiful of the 3 films that I just spoke about. I mean,
well, even the whole boat scene and where they're fighting and they're shooting, and then she pulls them away, and the bullets are coming through. It just feels like you're part of the adventure. I think it's the pacing of everything, right? It's not so quick that all you're getting is a jumble in your face of like what's happening, whereas like this you get the part when they're jumping off the boat and he's like, what do we do? And he's like, I'll go get help, and the guy's like, oh crap, and then he just like jumps over. Like all that pacing. Kind of
the delivery is everything. That's what I'm trying to explain to the director on the film that I'm working on right now. Delivery is everything. I rewatched this film recently for this appearance on this podcast, and my wife sat and watched it with my child bride sat and watched it with me, and it was her first time to see it, and this movie actually made a lasting impression on her. She wanted to watch it again the other night. Like I just remember like 20 minutes before it's over, she's like curled up on the couch and she's like, my God, what else is gonna happen to these people? And you
gotta watch the second one.
The second one is great too. Actually, I want to rewatch the second one.
I love it because they've got a kid and everything. He's a little
I also like that. I love that they also bring more Imhotep in, like, and it's her.
The second one also. Well, it's not his first movie, but it's the movie that kind of made The Rock.
Right.
Yeah. To the point where they were like, he's so good in The Mummy Returns, we need to give him his own movie.
But it's that one CGI shot of him at the end that brings me out of that entire film.
Horrible.
And I have never been able.
Horrible.
I've only saw it once. I've never been able to watch the Mummy Returns again because of that one CGI shot.
I didn't like that either.
It was like, I get you want to, it's transformative or whatever, but like then how do you go from that to then never mind, we'll wash that away, we'll make a movie all about The Rock. I mean, you know, the Scorpion King.
It looked like Seth Green had an action figure.
Right.
It looked like it was an episode of Robot Chicken.
It was great up until I wish they would have done something different with that. I really do wish because I love the movie. I love the script. I like everything about the second.
I mean,
one.
they could change it today. George Lucas does it every 5 minutes. He realizes something. Well, not him anymore, but Disney now realizes something they don't like that George Lucas did in the original 6 films, and they'll change it. And then they'll
do they? I didn't know that.
Yes. If you watch the streaming versions,
can they do that?
They
they
can own it. They can do whatever.
Well, by the way,
want.
they before they sold it to Disney, they George Lucas actually decided to do a lot of CGI fixing.
Right.
He wanted to update them and fix certain things that he didn't like about the other films. So that was more of a Lucas
Disney
thing.
has done it quite a bit since they've owned the film the rights to Lucasfilm. They've gone in and made little subtle changes to the original trilogy, the prequels, and even their sequel trilogy. I want to say they even made some changes in Solo recently that I noticed. Now, I mean, this isn't going to be on the Blu-rays that I own, but if I watch the streaming versions, whether that be on Disney Plus or Vudu, those subtle changes go into those versions.
The question is is it the changes that fans want, or is it they're like because of whatever continuity reasons, like they want to? Because I feel like sometimes it's like, yes, it's great, fix it, and then there's some you're like, why did you do that? Like,
Oh man, that we could do an entire if we ever do a literary license podcast on the Star Wars saga. Oh my god,
a remake of a remake of the remake.
We would have to have a whole season for that.
It would have to be. It would okay, Chad, you're going to be on during the month of October.
Yeah.
My big issue is that the 3 original films in their original form are only on one DVD release. And it's 4:3. It's not even widescreen, or maybe it is widescreen, but it's not anamorphic. So it's just you just have the little thing in the box, and that's really my main issue with them is that the films in their original format. If you want to go back and watch them the way you watched them when you were a kid, we have an entire generation now that never saw those versions. Because for all intents and purposes,
I have 2 collections of those on VHS, and first of all, I'd have to track down a VCR. And the other to get the actual original pre-THX rewashes, I would have to take the plastic off of them because I have the original Star Wars trilogy still in plastic.
Yeah, we have an entire generation that doesn't even know those exist, doesn't even know if there were any changes.
Right.
What would be kind of interesting, even with like this movie with the Mummy, like the 1999, it'd be kind of interesting if they do it in a chromatic or like a black and white. I would be curious to see how this movie would translate that way, because I feel like it would still hold up really strong. Like I think it would. Like
there's a lot of films that have I've seen like that recently. Like I don't know if you ever saw the black and white version of the most recent Mad Max movie. So good.
I didn't know it was in black and white.
There's a black and white. There's a black and white cut.
It's in the extras on the iTunes version, I think.
And Logan, the Hugh Jackman film, the last Wolverine film, I've watched it in black and white as well, and that is just amazing.
Yeah,
but
that's just an amazing movie. Period. Both of those movies are. Mad Max Fury Road is too.
Every now and then around the corner from my house at the Texas Theater, they'll play. They call it I think it's called the Blood and Chrome version of Mad Max Fury Road, and they'll play the black and white.
They took that in black and white. I love Fury Road.
Yeah.
Fury Road was fantastic.
It feels like a completely different film in black and white. Just there has to be a way to do it.
It's out next year, isn't it? Of that, so.
Furiosa, right?
Yeah.
Furiosa.
Are they almost done with that? I didn't realize they were almost done.
Yeah.
I mean, George Miller's doing it, but he works at his own pace. So I mean, he won't release it until he's got it the way he wants it. So
See, that's a TV function that they have yet to give us. I want to be able to touch a button and turn things to black and white. I want to.
I think you will be able to eventually, just the way things are going, to be able
You
to
actually do it on your.
color
You can actually do it on your Blu-ray machine anyway.
Can you do it? I know, because
Yeah,
like
just,
Rob
just-
Zombie. Rob Zombie really needs to push for that, because I need to see his Monsters movie in black and white. Maybe it would translate better.
It would soften the blow of
The blow of disappointment.
Jesus.
That movie, I didn't hate it as much as most people. I just feel like Rob, I think, is in like his own insulated world where like I could make jokes about the universal monsters around Keith, around Vicky, around like a select group of people. It's just like there's a point where Herman makes a joke about Maurice Chevalier, and I'm like, who the fuck in 2022 is gonna get a joke about Maurice Chevalier?
It's like a no joke. Like when you watch, like I would watch a Golden Girls when it, later, like, and there'd be people mention about who the hell who is that person? And eventually, if you know who the person is, the joke is funny. But if you don't know who it is, like, and so now I learned a lot of the humor and the jokes and the people. But I have younger, people watching the Golden Girls going, who is Gloria Allred? Like, who is that? Like, what? Why is that funny? And like, okay.
I really love the dynamic between Rob and Sherry and what they do with their films. I know there's so many people that just
I love it too. I'm not
Yeah.
one of those Rob Zombie haters.
Say what you will about the guy, he's making the movies he wants to make.
Right,
right.
exactly.
And there's something to that's endearing.
Well, I mean, look like
Whether or not
House of
they'll
Thousand
do it.
Corpses and stuff like that. Those are all fantastic films. I don't care who's. I love his films. I don't
Absolutely.
care.
The thing about the monsters is that's made for someone like me who's one of these old school monster kids that's sitting there building an Aurora model kit when he's, in the 90s. Like I wasn't around in the 60s, but in the 90s, I was buying all those re-released Aurora model kits, and I'm the one who's building those, and I'm buying the old back issues of Famous Monsters of Filmland. But who is doing that in 2022 besides psychos like me?
I feel like with the monsters, maybe I think what also throws me off is like the way it is written, the humor that's written in it was also developed with a laugh track.
Right. Yeah.
It was because, and then you're like, like, and then you're kind of like, oh, I should be laughing right now. Like,
Right.
yeah,
But
it's kind of funny. I don't know,
But I also think you need to remember that one of the hardest things to film and to write is comedy.
Yeah.
And obviously Rob Zombie is not a comedy writer.
No.
He's a massively brilliant horror writer.
No,
100%.
Well, he's not a
Lords of
massively
Salem.
great horror writer
I mean,
either.
I love
he's
Shut
a,
up.
He's good at filming and he's good at what
Filming,
he does. I'm
yeah.
not taking anything away from that.
I'm not talking about a
But
script. I'm talking
I
about
would
a
never
film.
I would never want to see a Rob Zombie script written directed by anyone else.
No.
Yeah.
No.
correct.
I mean, he's good at what he does, and that his niche and that. But I mean, him and being a comedy writer, it's really hard to write comedy, and not many people can do it. Only a very select few can.
And this is where he needs to hit me up, Rob, if you're listening. You can
Like, I
email
got
me.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Lords of Salem. It goes into my
I love Lords of Salem.
my annual rotation for Halloween film.
I just need to know where I could get one of those albums. From Lords of
Right?
Salem.
I like Lords of Salem because it reminded me of like Blood on Satan's Claw and a lot of those movies. And that's the thing with a lot of Rob's horror movies is that he's kind of paying tribute to other movies. And that,
I think you're right.
I feel like the more you know about older horror movies, the more you can appreciate Rob Zombie's stuff, because the guy's biggest hit is a song about the fucking Munsters car. So this is a guy, like when I opened up the liner notes for Hellbilly Deluxe, I was like in heaven because I'm like, oh my God, this looks like the old monster magazines that I collect and I love looking at. And I feel like that's kind of goes into the appreciation of Rob is understanding that and liking that stuff. If you like the old Betty Page pinups, and you get what he's going for with his wife,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's made for a very specific niche that I don't think he realizes is not the general population.
Well, but I think
This
it's
is
like you said, I
you're
think
right.
maybe he just didn't care, and he was like, I'm going to make this for these fans because I was a fan. So it's my gift to them. It's my gift to like you
Right.
get that, right? And it's like someone making something that is literally you know, like I'm a huge Zelda fan, gaming Zelda fan. And like, if you make something and it literally hits that sweet spot, everyone else might be like, this is crap. Like, I don't get it. But if it really hits that sweet spot for me, that I know that I'm such a loyal fan, then he did his job. Like he did his job. Like he did exactly
it's the
what he
Rob
wanted.
Zombie version of a family film. And
Yeah.
he nailed that. Unfortunately, social media is
Did not.
Man, social media is a cruel, vile
They
place, and
are.
not for the faint of heart.
no.
The thing is, it's not for, not every movie is made for everyone. And and that's one thing that I wish like the bigger studios would understand when they try to make a movie and then they start plucking things out because this isn't going to go well in this market.
Yeah.
This isn't going to go well in this market. This is going to.
And
Dude,
I don't even think it's
though.
that anymore. I have a friend who religiously goes by Rotten Tomatoes, like religiously.
Oh, there's
And
no way.
Rotten Tomato isn't always the everything of reviews. I think
That's
it's
sort of like Snopes. I don't believe half the
it's a
shit they say either.
cumulative nature of like people coming together to talk about something and saying if it worked or didn't work. And I've seen things, like I told my friend, I've seen things that I love and
Right.
they trash it, or people review it and trash it. And it's like, that's your opinion, not
I couldn't
mine.
go by Rotten Tomatoes. I'd never watch anything.
The thing,
absolutely.
The thing about Rotten Tomatoes that I think people misunderstand about it is they'll look at a rating and be like, oh, it has a 96% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. That doesn't mean that like 96% of the movie is good. That means 96% of critics liked it.
Of the populace. Of that populace.
That's
yeah,
all that
correct.
means. So 96 on Rotten Tomatoes just means that's the percentage of critics that liked it. It doesn't necessarily mean the movie itself is that good. Like for a while, Paddington 2 was 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So people
Right.
were like, is this the greatest movie ever made? I haven't
No.
seen it. I do want to see it because I heard it's great, but probably not. It's probably not the greatest movie ever made because 100% just means the critics that saw it, all of them liked it.
Right.
They're not saying it's better than The Godfather.
And I'll judge by that. Whichever has the least is usually how I'll judge that film. My wife is an art student. I like to call myself an artist from time to time, and we all know that art is subjective. And when you see those really low Rotten Tomato scores, I mean, she and I both are like, "Oh yeah, this is going to be freaking brilliant." Like, have you seen the Velocipaster? The Velocipaster is
Heard of it?
amazing. I don't care.
Wait, the Velocipaster?
The Velocipaster.
Oh yeah, you haven't heard that one?
No.
Check out the trailer.
Oh
The
my God,
trailer
I don't know if I
Velocipaster,
can.
like Velociraptor, but pastor.
Yes,
But it's a
yes.
Like
pasture?
in priest pastor.
Yes. I had a table across from the director at Texas Frightmare Weekend 2019, and I just it is very self-aware, and that's the best thing about it is it knows that it is a nightmare of a film, and that's fine because they
Okay,
just got
2017, the Velocipaster.
they just got
It's on
crowdfunding.
Tubi, yay!
They just got crowdfunding for a second film. They just got crowdfunding for a sequel, so I'm super stoked
It's
about it.
I mean, literally the
59%
first
Rotten Tomatoes
review.
right now.
This is the best thing that I've ever witnessed. The acting is impeccable. Okay, wow.
The Velocipaster. Okay.
Check out the trailer because
Velocipaster, right?
that is the
Don't
one.
judge a
That's
film
it.
by the name, huh? Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Huh.
This movie is exactly what it says it's going to be.
I love. I
It
bet. By
says
the way,
right
that's
here, it says, yes, this is a real movie, and yes, it's about a dinosaur priest.
I can't.
Yes.
I mean, going back to the films, obviously that's what works for The Mummy too. You're getting exactly what you're paid for. Literally, you're getting that adventure, the style. You're getting the nods to the past, because there were lines which I should have wrote some of them down, but there were specific lines that they pulled from the 1932 film, which was. I love that, because if you saw that, you would be like, wow, that was a nice little nod that you gave.
They
them.
deliberately did that because
Yeah.
the man had a total love
Well-
of Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you have here, and this is the way when you do a make to remake situation, is that and you can't beat Tim Burton, who fucking lies about everything anyway. I mean, he's one of the biggest liars
Make it
in
up.
history. Well, no, I mean, he's the kind of person who goes, "Oh, I love the source material," and does a movie, and it's like a total bastardization of the source material, where you can tell that Stephen Sumner is a love of Universal horror, and that love comes through in his remake, and that's what you need when you're making a remake, is that you need to have the love for the source material. And yeah, you can update it or whatever, but you got to have that love to begin with.
Yeah.
It's been like, when I say that, it's like, when I say Tim Burton is one of the biggest fucking liars in the world, I love Planet of the Apes, and you see his Planet of the Apes movie. I love Dark Shadows, and you see his Dark Shadows. Oh, I love Willy Wonka, and you look at his child molesting Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, creepy.
Jesus Christ, did you see Dumbo? Oh my God. There's a scene where Danny DeVito stands up in a bathtub, and I was like, my God, is that what I look like when I'm naked? Holy cow.
Oh, he was even more unattractive as the Penguin. Oh my God, what a revolting human being he was in that movie.
Right. It's like, I mean, he plays a great part, but it's like you can't help but look at him and go, where does his ass begin and end?
Yeah.
I mean,
I've been looking at Discussing Dan DeVito every season, and it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I love that show.
He's showing you his full moon in Philadelphia. Sunny in Philadelphia.
He's never looked as more vilest than in that whole series. He's brilliant in it.
I think he knows he can pull off vile, and that's why he excels at it so much, because that is kind of like his deal.
it has to be the sense of humor, man, because I know I'm a hideous chud. I don't know how 4 women have decided to marry me. I don't know. And the other 3, they're gone, and there has to be a reason. And I'm thinking it might be because I have a Danny DeVito ass.
I don't think you look bad like that. Jesus Christ.
A thing that I find funny about The Mummy in memory, and I'm rewatching it, is that for some reason Arno Vosloo, for every time I think of him, I think of The Rock. For some reason, I always think it's The Rock, and then when I see it, it's like, oh, it's not The Rock, it's him. It's this guy here. But in my mind's eye, it's always The Rock playing that character. I don't know why it is. And then when I rewatch it, it's like, oh, it's not The Rock, it's him.
Baldness, maybe.
I kept thinking he was Billy Zane. Like, I kept looking and thinking,
yeah,
Billy
he
Zane
does look like Billy Zane. Yeah.
But didn't Billy Zane play a bald-headed person in a film?
He did. That's what we were saying.
Time?
Yeah, it was. What was it?
Was it in Demon Knight? Yeah,
he does look like Billy Zane, doesn't he? I never even caught that before.
Yeah, the Phantom came out around the same time as this, didn't it?
Right.
I recently saw that for the first time, and I actually really like it.
Phantom came out in '96.
Wait,
the Phantom and Titanic. He was in Titanic too.
Wait.
That was '97.
No. Wasn't the Phantom Alec Baldwin? And he was Alec Baldwin was...
Billy Zane was Baldwin was in The Shadow.
The Shadow. Okay, I got him confused. I saw both of them recently, and I really enjoyed both.
But some of those films are better on repeat viewing. I mean, there's another film that kind of flopped around the same time called The Rocketeer as well, which is actually when you go back and watch it. It's actually a decent film.
I love The Rocketeer.
Yeah.
But it flopped when it came out. I mean, it wasn't,
unfortunately, like the box offices obviously kill some of the films. Like it kind of just go straight to DVD. Like, they literally just go, right in and out.
Well, another thing is, so it depends what audiences are looking for around that time as well. I mean, The Phantom will end up being a better film than what you remember it to be. And The Shadow, same thing. And then you get something like Dick Tracy, which basically doesn't really hold up. It wasn't that, did very well, but it doesn't actually hold up. It's kind of weird when he.
You don't feel it holds up? I watched it. I rewatched it a couple years ago, and I felt I still loved it. I don't know. It could just be nostalgia, though.
What, Dick Tracy?
Yeah, Dick Tracy. Yeah, maybe it was just nostalgia.
That Dick Tracy, Madonna, Dick Tracy.
Yeah, Madonna, Al Pacino, William Forsythe, everybody.
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Warren called in all his favors.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a bad movie, but it's just very. It's watchable, but it doesn't live up to the pinnacle that you think it. At the time, I remember going and seeing it at times like, oh, I enjoyed this. And then trying to watch it again, it's like, it's okay. I can, if it's on Sunday afternoon, if it's on in the background, I'll watch it. But
I prefer Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Like that was like one of my favorites when I was a kid too. Like the animation.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit definitely holds up a lot better than
Well, I mean, we're we're doing Who Framed Roger Rabbit next season for our book to screen.
Yay!
It's based on a book.
There's a lot of the film community now, though, that it looks like that they're beginning to avoid a lot of the big blockbusters, and they're going more towards, I guess, the popularity of the indie films.
Yeah,
like I remember
that seems to be the way things are looking. I have noticed that too.
I remember my wife dragging me, kicking and screaming, to a film this year called Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it was the greatest thing that I had ever seen in my entire life.
It's so good. I think that they're also just looking for something different, right? And the problem is, like, now it's like the reverse of an indie becoming mainstream. So they're redoing the film of, what's the one with the kids whose mom's wrapped up?
Good Night,
Mommy.
But they're redoing the movie, and I'm like, the original was like, just leave it alone. The movie is fine.
It's out now. It's out now on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, but I'm like, has anybody watched it yet? Did you watch it, Keith?
No. I haven't. I've seen the trailer, and it looks like a shot-for-shot remake. It kind of reminds me of Funny Games, and then the American version of Funny Games, which is shot-for-shot.
Yeah.
So it looks a bit like that. I haven't seen it, though, to be fair, but it does look like a shot-for-shot film.
And they're also redoing, or they have a series that's out, Let the Right Ones In. Let the Right One In.
Yes.
So but they did the series, and I'm like curious about how the series, but
it's good. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it.
You like it?
Yeah, it's not the movie. It's not a TV version of the movie. It's a different story.
Nothing to do with the movie at all. It's just something totally different.
It's got similar themes, and it's a bit more gory than the movie, but the theme is similar. There's no pedophilia in it or anything like that. But it's good, actually. It works on its own merit. It's not, none of the characters are from the American version or the Swedish version or the book. It's kind of like.
That's cool. But I found that's what's interesting now. There's a lot of remake of, like, indie. It's like a remake. Oh, we're gonna remake this indie film. Like, it's kind of like that time when Ringu came out, and then The Ring, and then it's like, The Grudge, like a lot.
Yeah, but that's because Americans fail to watch subtitles on an overall structure.
They're like,
it's true. It's got it's got honest truth. It's like. Here in England, it's like everyone over here is like, oh God, America's got to make a remake. Can't they read? And that's what, that's what they say. Can't they read?
No, they
no, most of them can't. So just
it's funny because when I went on Shudder and I looked up the Argento movie Dark Glasses, like half the complaints are that the film is subtitled.
Yeah,
it doesn't bother me. I've got to be in a mood for subtitles. If I'm really tired, I can't get through a subtitled movie because I have to pay attention.
And that's why a lot of people skipped on Shin Godzilla, because it's
that was all subtitled.
You have to watch it in subtitles, and it's like the superior film to, like, the most recent Godzilla films that have come out. It's just
the thing is, though, if you don't like subtitles, Netflix, you have subtitled, or you can watch the dub version. And most of the time, the dub version is halfway decent. Sometimes the dub's really bad, though.
Sometimes the dub. What was it we were saying that was really badly dubbed? It was a great
Godzilla. The original Godzilla is
the original.
Really bad
oh my God, that made me
really badly dubbed.
But if you do watch the undubbed one with the captions, whole different experience.
Right.
Yeah. That's one of the films I thought, okay, well, I'll watch this dub version because it'll be easier. About 5-10 minutes into it, I was like, I'm just gonna read it. I'm gonna have to watch subtitles.
You're like, I'll do it.
Well, that was just like what was it? Battle Royale. I had to watch the dub because I could not deal, not the dub or the caption version, because I couldn't stand the voices that they used for the kids in Battle Royale, and I love that movie, and it was making me crazy. With the voices just did not match the character. It made me nuts.
I'm trying my best to find like a subtitled version of Brotherhood of the Wolf. I can't find anything except the dubbed, and I mean, and it's not a bad dub. It's just that I'm a purist, and I want to watch it in the original language.
Buy a European version of it.
I think I will have to do that if I can.
DVD.
If I can find one or a Blu-ray player that'll play the encoding.
You can get a good
You need a
Blu-ray
regional
player.
yeah.
No, you can get a multi-region Blu-ray player now for about £100, $100 on Amazon.
There's some on Amazon that are like $60, $70. I don't know how good they are.
Yeah.
I've yet to buy one myself. But
Because I just had to buy a new Blu-ray player because my multi one kind of went up, so I bought a new one. I got one for £100. It was easy.
No, that wasn't bad.
And they're very small now as well. They're only about this big.
Oh, yeah,
teeny.
that's not
remember
bad.
the big VCRs were like this?
Oh yeah.
A
Top
whole
loading.
unit.
Top loading and
Oh my
just
God.
oh my god.
I used to make so much extra money with people in their VCRs by programming them for them.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
All the stations and for them.
I forgot about that. Oh my God.
Yeah, you had to program them that, didn't you, in the day? And no one could program them. It seemed like everyone didn't know how to program them. It's like it was pretty easy. But you plug your area in, and then you had to go like each channel and like move that little dial.
Yeah.
Or remember when you had to record from beta to VHS, so you'd have the
Yes.
two and like
Oh
well,
man.
beta
all
was
you,
a better
all you
picture.
youngins listening, yes, that was our lives before. We had to record freaking everything. Now
And
you
when
could
you
just
walk to
I'm
school
gonna go
to
on Google.
school.
Where can I watch whatever?
Oh,
And then you
my
had to think
God.
between Blu-ray and HD DVD. And
Oh,
Blu-ray
yeah.
one.
And
Yeah.
what was the big disc, the laser
Laserdisc.
Laserdisc.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Oh.
That's sort of like people now. Everybody's discovered albums. It's just like, look what I have found. It's like, no shit.
So I have to sit there and say that the Laserdisc versions of a lot of movies are better than the Blu-ray, and the extras that they had on
Yes.
were a lot better than what you're getting on Blu-ray and DVD today. Some of the
Interesting.
extras, some of the extras
Really?
on the extras are
Blu-rays
excellent.
Blu-rays now, you aren't getting shit as far as extras.
No.
Like I remember like I have all these old Warner gangster movies from the 30s up on my shelf over here, and when I throw one of those in, you have the movie, you have a Warner cartoon from that year, you have a documentary, Martin Scorsese talking to a bunch of film historians about why this movie's important.
But by the way,
No,
that's
on
a lot
DVD.
of that's a lot of production costs to build an interface into each DVD with all of that. So
Yeah.
I think now they're like, you're getting the movie. That's it. That's all
Well,
you're getting.
that's what I
Like,
was
we
saying.
don't
I was
care
like-
about anything
I was
else.
like, if I pick out any one of these movies on DVD, it'll be, a Warner cartoon from that year, a Warner short from that year, a documentary hosted by Martin Scorsese and a bunch of people, and you get this extra, $14.99. Now it's $39.99. Fuck you. You got the movie. What else do you want from me?
Yeah.
No.
I got
Absolutely.
They gave me some postcards in my copy of Necromantic.
No, they finally just in the last couple of months released Pump Up the Volume on Blu-ray after that movie it's not available on streaming anywhere.
Yeah.
And I tell podcasters all the time, I'm like, have you ever seen the Christian Slater film Pump Up the Volume? And they're like, no, what's that? And I'm like, stop recording your fucking podcast because you owe everything to this film. And they just finally released it on Blu-ray after it being unavailable on any format for almost a decade.
How weird.
And recently on DVD-R from Warner Archive. So it wasn't even like a pressed DVD. It was like, hey, we'll burn you a copy. for
Seth Green.
Yeah, that was back in 1990 when that was filmed too.
Yeah.
I went to the movie theaters and saw that when it came out. So I
And,
remember that.
the girl who ended up playing Princess Daisy in Super Mario Brothers is in it too. I'm trying to remember her name.
Yes.
Penelope Ann Miller.
I can't remember her name.
One second.
Samantha Mathis.
Samantha
That's the one.
Samantha,
Samantha
that's it.
It was the first time I ever found a girl with short hair attractive. It was Pump Up the Volume, Samantha Mathis. And I just happened to get lucky because I've had a DVD copy of Pump Up the Volume forever, and I let someone borrow it and it came back scratched and it skips and it's just stared at me from my movie shelf.
God, I haven't seen that in so long. Now I'm gonna have to try to find
Well,
it.
it's on Blu-ray. It is on finally released on Blu-ray, but it is not on digital anywhere. You can't even purchase it on Vudu or Amazon Prime or any of that shit. You can't even rent it on Amazon Prime.
And that's why I keep telling people you got to go the physical media route, because eventually there's going to be movies that you just aren't going to be able to see.
All right.
Yeah, well, it depends. If someone
You're
doesn't
right
consume
about
it,
that, Joe.
if
You
a
bet
studio doesn't consume it, it won't yeah, it'll go to, well, it might go to like a Tubi, or it might go to something where
YouTube.
it will fall YouTube. Yeah.
YouTube or Tubi.
By the way, fans will start to download films and put it on YouTube and be like, hey,
Piracy,
you can
video
watch it
piracy
here.
might be what saves a lot of movies now.
Yeah.
Because
LimeWire's got all kinds of shit on it that I've never seen anywhere else. They got a huge catalog.
Then you run into situations. You run into situations like Kevin Smith, though. Kevin Smith can't release Dogma or Red State because it's all tied up in the Harvey Weinstein shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And Dogma, well, up until recently, Dogma was easily his best film. Now I think it's Clerks 3, but Dogma was easily his best film, and it's just out there in limbo. If you're lucky enough to have a DVD copy of it from its first run, because it's not streaming anywhere.
Yeah, I got the DVD of it. Very vanilla DVD release as well. I mean, you look at Clark's and Chasing Amy, they had like these fantastic DVD productions. Where Dogma came out looks like a vanilla disc.
Yeah, very, very much so. And Red State as well, which is another great Kevin Smith
Yeah, I got
film.
Red State as well.
It's tied up in the whole Weinstein thing. He can't do shit with it.
Yeah.
Harvey, pervert, great filmmaker.
Great producer, shitty human being.
Shitty human being. But you also cannot rape the willing.
Well,
that is true.
I mean, as I look at it, I forgive Victor Salva if he comes back and does another Jeepers Creepers movie.
Please do something, because that last Jeepers Creepers, I thought it's like shit. I didn't know he did.
I didn't see it, but my friend was like, "Oh, I see it's on there." So this is the text. I see it's on there. I'm going to begin watching it. 5 minutes later, yeah, I'm not going to continue watching it. And I was like,
no,
not
it's
bad.
nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing doesn't even
bad.
come close. Doesn't
Yeah.
even come close to Salvo.
You got to bring Victor Salva back. I'm sorry.
Yep,
He's the only
sorry.
person who can do it. So what if you get boys running around with their shirts off? It's so
I know, I don't care.
Movie. No, but yeah, I guess going back to the Mummy. I mean, the thing is like Stephen Sumner. I mean, has he done anything recently? Because he kind of disappeared. He was quite popular for a while, and then he kind of disappeared.
I watched him on YouTube, but I didn't see anything
Van
else.
Helsing bombed really badly and kind of killed his career.
It did.
Yeah.
bomb. It really
Yeah.
did.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
looking at what else he's done.
He did the G.I. Joe movies. He did the G.I. Joe
Jungle
movie
Book.
bombed. Van Helsing bombed. Odd Thomas.
Oh, he did.
Odd Thomas
I
was
didn't know that.
okay.
Yeah, we liked it. We covered Thomas. So.
We like.
Yeah, that looks like that's the last movie he directed was Odd Thomas.
Yeah.
Well,
lot of
he's got
producing.
like all of the Scorpion King 4. I'm like, I didn't even know they had all these straight to video. He
Yeah,
did
that
Scorpion
wasn't
King
him.
3, wasn't it? He was a producer.
Yeah, he was producer.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'm looking now. Okay, I was looking.
He
at, I
did.
was
He
looking at
did
the-
2, 3, 4. He did all the so straight to DVD type. You know.
Yeah, IMDb
films.
breaks it down by job, so I'm looking at director.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, directing wise, he did. He had 11.
I mean, he did one of my all-time favorite guilty pleasures. I got two guilty pleasures. That's Del Toro's Mimic and Deep Rising with
I
Treat
love
Williams
Mimic.
and
Oh my
Mimic is
God,
Kevin
I
J.
love
O'Connor.
that movie. Mimic is awesome.
Mimic is fun. Mimic's one of those I wish it would do more films like that because I love.
Well, I
that
think that
sort of-
somebody did make Mimic too, didn't they? I
Yeah, but that was
There are
straight
there
to
are-
DVD.
There are four Mimic. There are four
Are they?
Mimic
I only
films.
watched the first one. I hadn't seen any.
That's all you need to see. It's a bit like The Prophecy with Christopher Walken. The first one's really good. The rest of them go
Right.
slightly downhill. Or the Dust of Dawn series.
Oh my God, no! Oh my
Well,
God.
it's like Species. Species kept getting really bad too. It was like, what are you doing to this franchise?
You gotta wonder why do I have to ask though? Y'all know about the industry. Why do they keep putting it out there?
Because it's like Hellraiser. The company has to make at least one movie. They lose the rights, so they put out. So what they do is
They
get
put out a
script.
bunch of
Well, they get a script that has nothing to do with it, and they turn it into part of the franchise, so that way it keeps.
Like
it keeps that
Halloween
way.
3, Season of the Witch, or whatever.
No, nothing like that.
no,
at all.
Season of the Witch
More
the
was
like-
greatest
intended to
films
be
ever
that way.
made.
No,
I agree with that.
See,
I love Halloween 3.
So do I.
yeah, the Halloween 3 was it was John Carpenter's idea along with Cunningham that basically they would do like a different
Yeah,
They-
a theme.
Another
Yeah.
movie at Halloween time, so it'd
Yeah.
be like a different story each time. It wouldn't follow Michael Myers, so that's different.
And then
No,
Bob.
what they did with Dust Till Dawn and a lot of the Merrimack stuff or the Disney stuff, and they own the rights to Hellraiser as well.
Right.
That what they would do is that if they didn't come out with something in every couple of years, that they would lose the rights. So they would do a direct to video quick out. They wouldn't advertise that it came out or anything like that. It wouldn't go. It wasn't made for the theater. It's just so they could say, look, we're still doing something with this franchise, so it still belongs to us.
Yeah.
New Line used to do
okay,
it.
I getcha.
New Line did it a couple times as well. That's the
It's
reason
almost
why,
like it's almost like a patent, right? So if you don't use your patent or you don't have it, like that patent can
So your
fall
patent
to-
is up. Well, your movie rights are up for grabs if you don't continue to
It's
use
a bit-
it. Is
well,
that what you're saying?
The rights to the
that's
source
why-
material.
like Frank Mancuso lost the rights to Friday the 13th because they weren't making anymore, and that's when New Lines
Right.
picked it up.
Okay.
Another way, the Halloween franchise lost its rights as well, so they got picked up by another company. So that's why we have these new. That's the reason why if you get like a Halloween, if you decide to wait till this last one comes out on DVD, which is out now on Blu-ray, the new one, means that if you wanted to get the whole series like one all the way through, they're probably going to have a bit of a difficult time with it because most of the films are owned by a different studio than these new ones
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
some are
I guess
Universal,
some
some are
It's funny
Some
because
of-
even Scream did that because I went to watch the last one again and then I was like, wait, it was on HBO. What happened?
I
And
actually
went to
like the
Showtime.
last Scream. A lot
It
of
was
people
great. And I was like, why is it on Showtime? My friend's like, because it's under this, not Paramount. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, oh, that's why. So now it's being pulled back over here because it's owned by
Scream was Disney, which is Miramax, and then when the Weinstein stuff happened, they sold it to Paramount. So now it's on Paramount Plus.
Yeah. Well, no, it's
The
on
Scream franchise.
it was on Paramount, but then it's also on Showtime because it was the studio that last produced the last Scream was there.
Showtime and Paramount are owned by the same company.
I don't think
in
they
this country they are. All the Showtime
Yeah.
stuff in this country is on the
Because
Paramount
Showtime
Plus
right
thing,
now
too.
is on Showtime Anywhere, which is another umbrella with all of these other.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can't have nice things.
I know.
God.
By the way, I was talking.
think so. Well, did they do that with the Hostel franchise too?
Hostel franchise is different. Hostel 1 and 2 were independents, and they weren't owned by a thingy. So when the third one was made, that was a company wanted to buy the franchise, but because Hostel 3 went straight to video, didn't do very good. And
Right.
it wasn't a very well made film, and people kind of torture porn kind of went at it. Kind of ran
That
its
is the
course by
one
that time.
movie that actually makes me cringe and squeamish is the first Hostel. The second one, I still have a hard time getting through it. It takes a lot, but there's
Well, the
just
first
something
Hos-
about
the
the
fir-
intensity.
Well, the first Hostel 1 and 2 is produced by Quentin Tarantino.
Right.
And directed by
And-
Eli Roth.
Yeah, and Eli Roth's first movie, Cabin
The
Fever,
Team.
was produced by David Lynch.
That is just so
Because-
hard to get. It's so hard to get.
Because Eli Roth used to work with David Lynch and Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, God,
Everyone
I
loves
love the first Hostel. It's so badass.
Then
I might
Cabin
have to watch that
Fever,
tonight.
Well, we were
Cabin
talking
Fever
about-
2 got passed off to the dude who did X and Pearl. So I have not watched Cabin Fever, but it is on my to watch list
I like
because I want to
Cabin
watch
Fever.
Cabin Fever 2.
Well, the new one or the second one?
The second Cabin Fever is
First
is
one's the
one.
best one.
What's his name? Ty West. Is
Ty
that
West.
the guy? Yeah, he's
The thing about Ty West is that if he writes it himself and he's totally invested, you'll get a good movie. If he's doing it as a director for hire, you can tell when his heart's not into it.
right. It's
Yeah.
kind of like a court appointed attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well, it
exactly right. For those of us
But-
who know what those are.
But if you want to see Ty West at his best, watch House of the Devil, The Innkeepers.
yes, love
I
House of
love
the
both
Devil.
of those.
The Innkeepers is
I
amazing.
love X. So
Yeah,
I
I just-
gotta
Yeah,
check
I
it out.
love X, so I've
I
got.
Oh.
recently purchased like his entire filmography on my Vudu, and I'm gonna sit and do that over the next couple of weeks. Is watch like his entire catalog because I loved X and I
really loved Pearl.
I gotta see Pearl now.
I have to see Pearl. I've been wanting to ever since I seen the trailer.
Pearl was fantastic.
It'll explain that whole geriatric scene that totally disrupted my life.
if Mia Goth doesn't win some type of award for her performance in this film, we need to riot.
I mean, unfortunately, a lot of those types of films don't get the recognition that they
don't.
do.
They really don't.
I honestly feel there needs to be a version of an Academy Awards that is only for horror, sci-fi,
The Saturn Awards.
Like it's just
Well, that's true.
Elevated.
The Saturn
Elevated.
Awards.
Yeah.
The Saturn Awards.
I mean, Ty West is quite good. The thing is, though, the reason why Cabin Fever suffers a bit is because basically it had studio interference with it. And so he wanted to take his name off it, and they wouldn't let him. But the thing with Ty West is that if he stays in the independent realm, you'll get great films, and that seems what he's doing now. He's joined up with A24, so I think everything's going to come out of there. But Sacrament's good. His Western's a very good film as well. He made a Western, and if you like 70s movies and you have a kinship to 70s movies, 70s horror, 70s films in general, you're going to love Ty West films.
Yeah, absolutely. When I went and saw X, I mean, it was like watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre again for the first time, with a little bit bigger budget.
I'll point this out. It looks like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the look of the film and the feel of it. The villain is named Pearl. And what was the name of the cinematographer on Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Oh, I didn't know there was going to be a test.
Daniel Pearl. Daniel Pearl is the cinematographer of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
It comes back around.
I don't think this was an accident at all. I think it was intentionally done that way.
Yeah, that's really, I mean, it's great. It's another one of those movies that I plan on rewatching again in the next couple of weeks. So much to do between now and the end of October. My calendar is just insane.
I pre-ordered the Blu-ray of Pearl, so I'm going to be watching it soon.
So damn good, man. So damn good. And I hate to say it, like she is just, man, it's so hard to describe her performance. I've never seen anything like it. She is so dedicated to that character, and it's just have you ever watched a horror film that just grossed you out and turned you on at the same time? Or am I just the weird one? Yeah. It is very, very much one of those where it is just gore and sexualized at the same time. And
was it Mia Goth played that part?
Yes, and like I said, she needs to win something, and if everybody wants to throw in a 5, we can go buy her something, and I will hand deliver it personally to her. I'll bite that bullet.
Probably dig up her address. He's got everybody's.
Yeah, right.
It's funny because when I saw X, I thought X was more. It looked more like Deep Throat the way it was filmed.
Oh yeah.
I'll have to go back and watch Deep Throat again because it's been a really long time.
Any of you guys?
I have that and Debbie Does Dallas on Blu-ray.
Oh God, Debbie Does Dallas.
I don't know if I'd want to see Debbie Does Dallas on Blu-ray.
Debbie and her doubles.
I saw Debbie Does Dallas, the musical, which was fucking fantastic. It was excellent in Edinburgh with what's her name? Blonde model woman. I can't think of her name now, but I have the program. But it was fantastic. It shouldn't work, but it worked on so many levels.
It shouldn't work.
You know,
I've got to see Barbarian too. There's so many films I want to see.
Only on this show can you go from Boris Karloff and then
we do it all the time.
Ride that arc all the way to Debbie Does Dallas.
It's kind of becoming just our forte at this point. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Oh, Karloff
everybody
does
loves
Kalamazoo.
film so much. We get all excited about it. We just get to talking about everything. So
that was one thing last week, being in a film festival, and I sat there at the Troma booth, and it's funny because I'm talking to Lloyd about Laurel and Hardy, but then I'm talking to this person down here about Joe D'Amato movies, and she's like, oh, what movie I really love is Beyond the Darkness. Oh, I love Beyond the Darkness, best necrophilia horror movie ever. Meanwhile, Lloyd and I are talking about the how great Stan Laurel was at Pathos, and it's just amazing, just where it all went. And that's what the show's like.
Yeah. Well, it's also, this is what we bring up to, especially the youngins who are listening to us. Know your history.
Absolutely.
And if you get bored with what's presently going on, take a dip in the past, and watch movies like again, The Mummy. I'm really, really glad you picked this, Keith, because I can't believe I hadn't seen it, and I was like, and I'm going to be on my rewatch list from now on.
The chemistry of all the actors is just unbelievable. It really is.
The really popular thing right now is for like small cinemas to like replay,
I would love that.
These films from the 80s and 90s. I've got a couple of them just around the corner from where I live, and I go there. The Texas is right around the corner from my house, like a couple of blocks away, and that's where Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested.
Right.
I mean,
That's right. I totally
it's like
forgot about
famous, and it's been completely renovated on the inside. It's gorgeous, and I go there. Like, I have an Alamo Draft House that's like a mile away from me too, but I spend more time at the Texas Theater watching the older films, because the draw of these older films, these small cinemas, will actually most times.
Angelica. I wish there was more like it, like the Angelica.
Yeah,
and all
they'll bring somebody from the film who worked on the film or starred in the film to do like a Q&A.
Yeah,
I've met so many people lately just going to see these older films, and I would love to see The Mummy on a big screen. And
we used to have a beautiful theater.
There is one in Rockwell that's showing those. Joe sent me the link. I'll have to.
Fathom Events is doing them all over the country, because next week they're showing the Saturday before Halloween. They're showing The Creature from the Black Lagoon and the 1943 Phantom of the Opera. It's like $12 to see both movies.
There's one in Rockwell, in Dallas. Rockwell and Dallas, Chad.
Okay. All right. I'm so my schedule sucks right now.
I also wish it would just, if you're going to create that experience too, that so the Ziegfeld used to be a theater here in New York, and then they turned it into something, but it used to be this amazing, there used to be this amazing theater, and now it's like a banquet hall, or I don't know what the hell that is.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they turned it into like a banquet hall or something, and I to me it's like these older theaters that were just like part of the experience of that, like
treasure.
They were just treasure. Yeah, so I wish that they would consider that. AMC, create a classic experience for people, like create a amazing classic type theater.
Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be fantastic if they would do it.
It would sell too. There's a huge audience. There's a huge audience for that.
And here's something else. If you really love movies, try to challenge yourself, because it's so easy to sit there on the couch and go, well, I'm just going to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark again.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to fall into that and just watch the same movies over and over again. Challenge yourself. Try to watch something new. I'm trying, and with my work schedule, it didn't always work out. I'm trying to watch one new feature film every single day that I've never seen before. I've been trying to do that all year. And this year, when I've been doing the Horror Hound watch list, they have a specific theme. Today's theme is this. And it's easy to go, watch a Frankenstein film. It's easy to throw in the 1931 version, but I was like, no, I got to find a Frankenstein movie that I haven't seen, because I can sit there and watch a Karloff movie for the 10,000th time, but why don't I challenge myself to find something that I've never seen before? So I found like this version where Randy Quaid played the monster, like a made-for-TV movie. Yeah. Challenge yourself to find the movies that you normally wouldn't watch, and secondly, something that you haven't seen. Because it's just there's 100+ years of cinema history, and we're never going to live long enough to watch everything.
Yeah.
But challenge yourself to watch something you've never seen.
I always, especially as we review films, if there are things that I have not seen, I literally, when I'm with my friends, I highly encourage them. I know, because my friend is very forward thinking, like, this is coming out and this is coming out, and it's like, great. but like, have you seen this film? And I'll literally show him, films that we review, and he's like, no. I'm like, well, you're an 80s horror fan. You should get on it. Here it is. Here's where you can find it, or I have it here, watch it, and it just, behooves you, especially if you're huge fans of certain things, to go back to history and go, oh my God, that's where they got that from. Yeah, that's where they, that first seed in a conception came from.
And for some people, that ruins the experience, apparently. Because I remember talking to one person at my job about how I was watching the 60s German crime thriller, and I was noticing all these similarities to Warren Beatty's Dick Tracy. Yeah. And I remember somebody going, well, doesn't that ruin movies for you? I'm like, no. For me, he felt like for him it would ruin Dick Tracy. And I was like, for me, it was kind of cool, because
enhances the experience if you watch.
Yeah, I'm seeing what Warren Beatty clearly saw that inspired this.
And isn't imitation the highest form of flattery? So when you watch something, to me, I'm also like, wow, that was very cool of them to be able to put a nod and to bring that back to the surface again, because especially as we see certain things and certain shots. And when I think we did one time, we did Black Christmas, and like we were like talking about that film and going like, oh my God, I cannot believe I've never seen this film, and now I see Halloween in a whole new light, and I'm like, holy shit.
You see Halloween, like, oh my God. When a Stranger calls.
Yeah, when a stranger calls, like, oh my God, it's crazy.
I mean, even in the first 15 minutes of When a Stranger Calls. Yeah. Watch the first 20 minutes at least,
Yeah.
The first 20 minutes of When a Stranger Calls, I think, are the best 20 minutes of that movie.
But, exactly.
In my opinion.
I love the end of When a Stranger Calls as well, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we covered it. Spoiler alert. But when she hears the voice, and it's like he's in bloody bed with her. Oh,
yeah, I know.
It's like, what the fuck? I know.
Oh.
Well, what we're going to do now is let's rate Mummy from 1932 and The Mummy from 1999, and tell us what your preferences are on a scale of 1 to 5. Which film do you find the better? Starting with you, Vicky, because this is your favorite part.
I know. I hate it.
As Vicky's thinking, she's like, "Damn it!"
I knew he was going to do it. He screws with me every time.
So, how many stars would you get out of
from him?
So, out of 5 stars, how many stars would you give The Mummy from 1932?
I would give that 5, definitely. I'd give it more than 5 if I could.
And The Mummy from 1999, how many stars?
I still give it 5 because I enjoyed both of them immensely. And yes, I would definitely take. It'd be hard to pick between the two, but if I pick between the two, I would take 1999 one, because it has that. It has. Well, the other one kind of has romance, like in 5 minutes, but I mean, this one has adventure. It has slapstick comedy. It has, beautiful scenery. I mean, it was just beautifully filmed as well. So it was the black and white one. So, but I would just definitely go with 1999, just because the humor in it. I really like Benny. Benny gets big thumbs up. Benny, my favorite character, absolutely.
And what about yourself, Joe?
I love both of them. The 1932 Mummy, I'd say, is 3.5 to 4 stars. Just because I feel like there are points where it is kind of stagey, like Todd Browning's Dracula.
But it's missing scenes, though.
I mean, maybe I can't judge it on what I haven't seen.
I'm just giving you shit, Joe.
I do love the movie, but I feel like it falls into that place when at times it just becomes too talky and not visual enough. I love that it's more visual than Dracula. So there's that's from a cinematographer being the director. The 1999 Mummy, I think this is weird because I usually like the older versions more. I think I like the 99 Mummy more.
I did.
Because it's a combination of horror movies and like an Indiana Jones movie, like the adventure epic of it. I feel like the 124 minutes of the 99 movie fly by quicker than the 75 minutes of the 1932 movie. And I feel like the 99 movie is a lot more engaging. Not to say the Karl Freund version isn't, but the 99 version, I think you can show that to anybody and they will like it. The 32 is more of an acquired taste.
Yeah.
And like Keith said, you could feel the love that Stephen Sommers had when he was making The Mummy. He loves these movies. Yeah. And in fact, when Universal released all the originals on DVD, it was always Stephen Sommers doing his little introduction of them when they did the box sets in like the mid 2000s when Van Helsing came out. So Stephen Sommers, I love what the guy tried to do for classic horror. I love both movies, but I gotta go with Sommers on this one.
It's visual, but the visuals are
It's
great.
a lot more visual. Like, I mean, not to say the Karloff version isn't. I just feel like this one is a lot more engaging. And I'm usually the person who's going to go, no, I like the older version better.
It's a lot of fun.
And what about yourself, John?
I would have to say that the 1932 version, I would give it about 4.5. I liked a lot about it. I think the smaller things that I didn't like are just nuance things, but I do like that the motivation from the start, it's very, again, the Pandora's box. You open the Pandora's box and you unleash something, and then so hell and fury. I think if you're going for the whole blockbuster, the 1996, I still give it about a 4.5. But I definitely liked the 1932 from the simplicity of the story. It's very straightforward, beginning to end. And bad guys loses, and then and it's over. And when I say it's over, it's like you see the skull, the mummy, and it's done. Like and this, the Hollywood, if you're going for the big, huge Hollywood blockbuster in 1996, it's great, but there's a lot of things that have to happen. And I found it was a little bit, I think I've watched too many movies. I started to be like, this is bullshit, because come on, like literally everything, all of these things have to happen.
Right.
It's like, let's open this sarcophagus. And I'm like, oh God, if you just didn't even do that, it would the movie would not exist, But yeah, so I definitely would say I'm gonna go with the 1932. I like the classic. It was amazing.
Cool.
What about yourself, Chad?
It's like I think these are two totally different types of movies. The 1932 movie was very claustrophobic, very very small sets. They couldn't show you a whole lot because Hollywood didn't have the ability to do that back then. So they tell you a lot through the dialogue. You really have to listen. It's kind of a thinking man's old horror movie, whereas the 1999 film was all about spectacle. It's almost like, someone handed that 1932 movie a joint and said, here, try this. And it opened its eyes, and it's like, wow, this is what I can be. And it was, I think I said it earlier in the show when I first saw the trailer. I was like, okay, this is an Indiana Jones knockoff. And when I finally decided to watch it, I was just disappointed that I'd missed it in the theater for that spectacle. I saw it on a tiny little 32-inch TV. So it's definitely two types of movies. So you have you're like more intellectual, you're more that you have to listen to, whereas you could probably watch The Mummy on mute and still have a damn good time just with the visuals.
Right.
Well, I think that's one thing that we didn't really touch on, is just this wasn't just a carbon copy. Like,
Right.
This movie went all out to give you something different from the 1932 version, which is why I can appreciate both of them. Also, I really love the 1959 one by Hammer Films. I want to throw that in there too. I love that one too.
Myself, the 1932, I'm going to give it probably 4 stars. I found it a bit slow, and it doesn't live up to the James Whale Universal monsters, or a Creature from the Black Lagoon, or Wolfman, or
No, it's different.
or Dracula, or Frankenstein, or Bride of Frankenstein. Though it is a hell of a lot better than the Phantom of the Opera that they did later on. And the Invisible Man. So out of the Universal, staple, The Mummy's my least favorite, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It just means it doesn't live up to my other favorites within that that cycle of films. So I give it a 4, and I'd love, if it wasn't for Jack Pierce and Boris Karloff, and you take them away from the movie, I don't know if the movie would stand on its own 2 feet, sort of thing.
No,
Yeah, that's
Karloff
true.
does all the heavy lifting here. He really does.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. Now, as far as the 1999 Mummy, I will give that a 5-star, because that's one that you can throw on at any time and just let it go, and you just sit back and just wash over you, let it watch. Don't, you can think about it or overthink it or underthink it or whatever, and it's just a fun all-time movie. And it doesn't matter when it's on. If it's one of those movies that if you're passing it or you're flipping through the channels and it comes on, you just end up watching it. You just can't stop. So for the enjoyment factor, it's a 5, and for overall, it shows its love of its of its original, and that's what I quite like about it. For me, that's why it works. But for me to pick one or the other, I really can't. It would depend on what mood I'm in. If I'm into something and I want something a bit more meatier, the 1932 film would work for me. If I want something that I just have a bit of fun and not give it much thought and just kind of watch, it'd be the 1999 one.
It's strange that even Universal, when they did their sequel to The Mummy, The Mummy's Hand, they did not touch Imhotep. They didn't do Ardeth Bey. They went a completely different direction and created a new mummy and a new curse and all that stuff with Karis and the Tana leaves and all that stuff. So it seems like even they kind of knew, like, it's a great movie, but it really didn't hold up to like the scrutiny of sequels. But then everything after The Mummy's Hand is completely missable. You don't need to see any of those movies. They're all awful. But I find myself preferring the first sequel to The Mummy, The Mummy's Hand, even above the Karloff one, which probably sacrilege, but
well, I think
sacrilege is a point of view.
It does feel like they just taken the Dracula script and just put the mummy in it. And
Yeah,
it does feel it's the same, it's almost word for word in a lot of ways as well. So I was kind of wondering, it's like,
and Edward
but
Van
saying
Sloan,
that is still brilliant. So
and Edward Van Sloan is just playing Van Helsing with a different name.
Yeah,
and
the mirror scene from Dracula is redone here.
Think about the 1999 version in those terms. Can you imagine any of the other Universal monsters? Let's say you have Brendan Fraser 1999 and a bunch of guns. Can you imagine Dracula or Frankenstein or the Wolfman or the Creature of the Black Lagoon? Can you imagine those monsters working in this type of film? And
well,
I don't think
they tried
so.
it with Wolfman, didn't they?
They tried it with Van Helsing.
They tried it with Benicio, didn't they? Which
the
Benicio,
Benicio del Toro, the Joe Johnson, I think.
Yeah, Joe Johnson.
Yeah,
that one.
People crap on that film.
This was the start of like redoing the whole Universal monster cycle, and there was this, then Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I have to say the Mummy actually for me works better than any of those other films.
People shit on that Wolfman remake, but if you can find the director's cut, it is a completely different film, and it's actually, in my opinion, one of my favorite werewolf films.
Joe Johnston is someone else who loves the old Universal monster movies, because if you watch The Rocketeer, that villain, I forget the villain's name, is based on Rondo Hatton, clearly. So Joe Johnston is someone else that he appreciates these movies. As far as attempting to redo Dracula, Stephen Sommers tried it a couple years later when they made Van Helsing, and it bombed horrendously.
Yeah, no, it was bad.
Van Helsing did bomb, didn't it?
Yeah, it kind of screwed up Stephen Sommers' career.
Well,
the only Frankenstein was the only one that I liked at that time in the 90s, and Mary Shelley's. I loved that one. I just thought it from a psychological.
The Kenneth Branagh one.
Yeah, that's Kenneth Branagh.
I just like the psychology to that versus like the older, Frankenstein. Like of all the monsters, that was one that I was like, they kind of did this right.
you had that one period where it was a bunch of over reliance on CGI, and that's when Van Helsing came out. You also had
that's true.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen came out about that time too. And that was, sheesh, you want to talk about sacrilege?
I know.
I mean, to be honest, the Wolfman remake, the only problem I had with it basically is Anthony Hopkins chewing scenery everywhere.
Right.
It's just like, if they took, no, I'm just saying if someone had control over him.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, but there are some actors that are quite good until a certain point, and then after that point they become the same actor doing the same job. Like Dustin Hoffman, he was fine until he did Rain Man. After Rain Man, everything became Rain Man. Or after Hannibal Lecter, everything became Hannibal Lecter after that. It's like, oh, now I'm going to choose scenery for the rest of my life. Or Al Pacino did it as well. Everything became like an Al Pacino. It's like he stopped acting and he just became this thing, this character that became everything.
Al Pacino's just Al Pacino and everything now.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
It's just to say, Al Pacino.
He just shows up
Yeah. Or Christopher Walken. So but for me, the Wolfman, I mean, it's like every time I just remember seeing it at the movie theaters, and every time he came on, I just kept cringing. Though I do have it on Blu-ray, and I'm gonna pick it up and watch it again. So
it's Del Toro, like he really tries to go like tone for tone with Lon Chaney Jr. And he actually succeeds from time to time. If your Blu-ray has the director's cut, that is the cut I prefer.
I don't know if I've ever seen the director's cut. I saw it in the theater. I don't remember if I've ever seen the director's cut though.
Yeah, it's a completely different film. It changes the tone 100%. It is.
I'm gonna have to check that out now. It's been a long time.
But Benicio was fantastic. He was great in it. And Anthony Hopkins was just like, oh my God, someone kill him.
And it makes it.
Someone give him a solid bullet in the face.
The director's cut makes it a lot more brutal. It's a lot more gory. The director's cut's a lot more gory than the theatrical cut as well. And it also adds a couple of the like little subplot storylines that they had cut for time back into it. Just makes it a completely different film. I highly recommend it.
I'm gonna have to go back and check that out. I haven't seen it.
I will check that out.
I don't think I've seen it besides the theatrical cut. So what Keith is saying is that Claude Rains' legacy is safe as Sir John Talbot.
yes, it is. They will
this brings us to the end of
they will blame you.
This brings us to the end of the Literary License Podcast. Our next remake in November will be The Women from 1939, which is directed by George Cukor, stars a whole host of characters, and stars nothing but women. Even the animals are female. And of course, we'll be doing the remake, which will be The Opposite Sex, which is 1956. We'll be starring Joan Collins and June Allison. Sorry, there we go. And of course, next week we'll be covering our Monsters and Madmen series. We'll be covering 2 more mummy films, which will be the Luc Besson's French film, The Extraordinary Adventures of Adele Blanc-Sacre from 2010, and Abbott Costello Meet the Mummy from 1955. And our next books of screen will be Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn and the David Fincher film. And of course, we'll be continuing our Batman retrospective for the animated series with Two-Face Part 1 and 2. And of course, we'll be finishing off Doctor Who, The Daleks from 1963. So it's good night for myself, and good night, Chad.
Good night. Y'all have a good one.
Good night, Joe.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, John.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Vix.
Good night, everybody.
And we'll see you next week for the French mummy film and Abbott Costello Meet the Mummy. Good night.
You ought to see what they did to my mummy. Pulled his organs out of his tummy, put him in spice, whacked him in a jar, painted him up with sticky tar, wrapped him in linen from his head to his toes, pulled his brains out of his nose. That's not all the embalmers did. They buried my mummy in a pyramid. Ancient Egypt down by the Nile. Mummy's going to be in a tomb for a while. Fair go Pharaoh, it's not funny. Tell King Tut I want my mummy. Mummy's in a coffin of shining gold, lying in a tomb that's dark and cold. Jewels and treasures he'll never see, 'cause he's half the mummy he used to be. Dead as a doornail, blind as a bat, with a mummified dog and a mummified cat. Don't don't ask me what my daddy thinks, 'cause his chariot's parked at the local Sphinx. Ancient Egypt down by the Nile, mummy's gonna be in a tomb for a while. Fair go Pharaoh, it's not funny, till King Tut, I want my mummy. Some fellas with spades and a torch to see were doing some archaeology. They saw a glimmer, they dug some more, couldn't believe the things they saw. Ancient paintings, priceless jewels. They gave a shout and dropped their tools, but the greatest treasure they found by far was a wrinkly mummy with his guts in a jar. Ancient Egypt down by the Nile, mummy's gonna be in a tomb for a while. Fair go Pharaoh, it's not funny, tell King Tut I want my mummy. Ancient Egypt down by the Nile, mummy's gonna be in a tomb for a while. Fair go Pharaoh, it's not funny, tell King Tut I want my mummy. Tell King Tut I want my mummy. Tell King Tut I want my mummy.